Adding reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we say hi. Nia Hardman, of course, Ryan Smith running YouTube back in Vegas. The big guy, Dustin Swedelson in Las Vegas. I'm Patrick Meagher, live from Los Angeles. Hope you're doing well. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. So we're jam-packed today. Couple of things off the top I want to get to as far as the show's concerned. We're going to have Mike Randall, who's one of the best when it comes to college hoops. He's going to join us, Stuart Durst, and then Mike Somich, part of the family, is going to join. Those of you joining on YouTube, we welcome you. Of course, you can find us, youtube.com/VSiN Live. Now, something very cool over at the VSiN YouTube page. Every tournament game is broken down concisely. 90 seconds. You want a quick handicap, go to VSiN Live on YouTube. Click the video, click the game, you're good to go. It's a great function that they've introduced. You can find us Rumble, Twitch, Kick as well. The Family Bets Discord. I did want to mention that the show is going on the road, and the big guy and I are going to be broadcasting from the SiriusXM studios Thursday and Friday from the Wynn Casino and Resort. So if you're there, our buddy Tommy San Diego coming out with the boys, stop by and say hello. If you happen to be making a trip to Vegas, we'd love to meet up and say hi. So again, beautiful SiriusXM studios at the Wynn. We're going to be Bill Zimmerman, formerly Mad Dog Sports Radio. I just learned he's in town in Vegas. So maybe Billy Z will stop by and we'll have a reunion. Where's Torrey? You know, Torrey, big guy, is happy today because he got himself a head coach. And Indiana was willing, and a friend of the show, Darian DeVries, who came on the show, great guy. He was bought out today. West Virginia, he heads to Indiana. It's a big-time job. I love the coach, and I love the hire.
Oh, it's a great hire, especially because kind of like Deion Sanders, he brings his Louis with him. What's his Louis? His son, Tucker, who's one of the best players in the country. So I love that move for Indiana. You hit the ground running. You'll have an All-American candidate year one. He's proven he can win in multiple spots. I guess my question is, do we think he was their first choice? Is there any chance that Ben McCollum said, nope, I grew up an Iowa fan. I'm a big Hawkeye. That job opened up. I prefer to be at Iowa than deal with the pressures of Indiana? Or do we believe DeVries was the first choice all along?
Well, first off, I just hit up Torrey, so I'll get his take. I didn't hear his take on his show about DeVries, so I'm curious to get his take. He was exquisite, DeVries, at Drake, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Went to West Virginia, had a quick turnaround. They got screwed out of the tournament. We've been discussing it ad nauseum. That's a good question, Dustin. The connection, although I do believe DeVries is from Iowa as well.
He's from Iowa also, which makes it really confusing.
Now, do we have confirmation that McCollum is going to get the Iowa job? I would imagine he's number one on the list.
Oh, no. I feel like they fired Fran McCaffrey because they didn't want to miss out on Ben McCollum. That's a program desperate to take the next step. You were only going so far with Fran McCaffrey the last few years. You have to believe the only reason that they made the move when they did and how they did it was because of all the traction McCollum was getting for the Indiana gig.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, DeVries is 49, young. McCollum is 42, 43, somewhere in that mix, young. You move on from a cantankerous Fran McCaffrey. You move on from Woody, Mike Woodson, which was a disastrous hire from the jump at Indiana. It was just too cute. You were trying too hard with the alumni. You brought an NBA guy in to try to coach the college kids. Disaster. So I think DeVries settling in with a college lifer, settling in with a guy that's going to be there for a long time. I think it's a great hire.
Oh, it's not that different. It's maybe not as flashy as the Curt Cignetti hire in football for Indiana. But instead of trying to win the press conference with the sexy name, with the person who's accomplished something somewhere else, you just went with a guy who can build a program and he can just win games. And if you're an Indiana basketball fan, that's all you want. You want a coach who's going to consistently win. And by the way, DeVries has done it without some of the best recruits in the country. He's had a Drake team for a few years when he was there that knocked off big teams routinely, and he didn't have 5-star recruits. Well, now he's going to show up with an elite recruit with his son, and they'll be able to add to that. And the transfer portal just changes the whole game. Who knows who ends up wanting to go to Indiana now that DeVries is there?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Indiana's back. A response from Steve Torrey on his Hoosiers. I like it. Worked under great coaches, won at other places, and no IU ties. Something different. When we interviewed Darian DeVries, he was the coach at Drake, and he had just recruited his son to come to Drake. His son's an NBA player. So his son is going to go with him from West Virginia. Now, he was injured. And remember, the committee blamed the injury on DeVries, which was back in November, on why West Virginia and Torrey and Dog did a great job on Sunday's selection show, holding their feet to the fire. That was BS. They won 1 million games after DeVries got injured. However, DeVries is the best recruit at Indiana right now.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I know, like, with NIL, there's no more rules when it comes to recruiting, but Darian DeVries was sleeping with Tucker DeVries' mom to end up getting him. That feels like it should be against the rules.
Yeah, he was, and you made the joke many times when we had him back then, and you carried it over. So, I'm always keeping track.
Play the hits.
Got a couple of go-tos, and you like that one, so you recycled it. And hey, listen, I'm not mad at you. That's the big guy, though, who saved the show yesterday. We are back. We have a connection. Yesterday, I was tripping out yesterday because I thought it was on my end. Once I realized it was New York City, vindication, I was good. I threw my hands up in the air. What am I going to do? Ronan, what am I going to do, big guy?
It is a good feeling, though, when you realize you're not the reason it's happening. Like, you're not to blame. Correct. They can't come at you about something because, look, life happens. Sometimes we don't pay attention to certain details. Maybe your internet speed was slower than it should have been, or something was going on in the area you weren't paying attention to. No, in this case, it wasn't you. It was them, and that makes you feel a lot better.
So let's talk about, because I was really breaking down the bracket even more today, and kind of some of the storylines that stand out. A couple other things I want to get to in today's program. So Hayward with the Steelers is already bitching about Aaron Rodgers. Like, dude, make up your mind. And this is what I would say. Be careful if you're the Steelers, because Aaron Rodgers' insidious nature is already seeping into an organization, and he's not even playing for him anymore. You have players annoyed with the fact that he's holding the Steelers, Minnesota, and the Giants hostage. That's number one. Number two, Mel Kiper is going to screw you, big guy, because he is about to shape the narrative on Shedeur Sanders. Mel Kiper today said he's got Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward, and he believes the Giants should draft him. Let me explain something to you. The Giants are run by, how do I be fair with this? Donks, idiots. Okay. And they're going to hear the narrative from Kiper, who has shifted the narrative in the past. And let's see if he can influence Shedeur Sanders' stock.
Man, this is all desperation. I don't want a quarterback in this draft class. My hope was that Cam Ward would go 1 or 2. The Giants wouldn't be able to trade up, and they'd get to just take a shot, a flyer on a second or third rounder. Forcing Shedeur Sanders as a top 3 pick, that is quite a leap if you're the Giants. The only positive would be the last bad decision that this Giants regime would make before someone else came in to fix these problems.
I broke down team. I know you did this a little bit in the past, but I went through it myself today. Teams trading up for a quarterback over the past 15 years and how it's worked. Has it worked? Has it not? We'll talk about some of the potential trade-up candidates in this forthcoming draft in the spring. But right now, big guy, the focus is on the tournament. You know, I was thinking about a quote from Greg Campy. We had the Oakland Golden Grizzlies coach on yesterday, friend of the show. At this point, all we can say is friend of the show. He comes on, he calls us by our first names. He said next year, when they make the tournament, he's going to come on before the first game and tell us why the other team's going to kick their ass. Greatest guy ever. Rochester Hills, Michigan, Oakland University. You know who else besides your boy graduated from there? David Hasselhoff.
Oh,
shout to the Hoff. Anyway,
Baywatch.
I digress.
By the way, I found out recently, there was like a Baywatch Nights show that came out after the original Baywatch. I'm taking you down a rabbit hole here, where they were solving crimes on the beach late at night. Just there. Go ahead. Continue.
Well, I'll solve the crime of moving on. One quote. Now, here's what I would say. We were going to play Campy the clip of Dog and Tori going in on the chair committee dude, the Bubba guy from North Carolina, the other donk that was the vice chair. And then I got to get disconnected. It threw you in a horrific spot. So we didn't hear it. But what Campy had to say before we went live was interesting. Now, I'm not going to misplace his trust and say what he said. So that happens often. We'll talk to people before they come on the air. They'll say off the record or intimate things are off the record. And if you're a credible broadcaster, you're not going to displace that trust. One thing that Campy did say when he was on with the big guy, and I was scrambling, is he said, and I wrote this down, he said, Rick Pitino, who's taking his sixth team to the dance, leaves programs in a wake of destruction. Now, Campy, who Boeheim loves, Izzo loves, Boeheim and Izzo literally call him for coaching ideas. Like, they love the guy. Campy, who is beloved by everybody in the sport, he's been at Oakland for 41 years, had plenty of opportunities to leave. He's just that dude. He's just going to be there. Campy saying that Pitino leaves programs in a wake of destruction with St. John's on the rise. A lot of people have St. John's in the Final Four. I thought that was quite telling because he's not going to put himself out there and say something. And now you can correct me because that's the quote you gave me was I guess the way that he approached the quote, how I'm saying it.
Yeah, no, it was just the way he does things. But then he gave some positive attributes of how he wins everywhere he goes and his team defends. And I believe he was saying he wasn't that concerned about their lack of 3-point shooting and their free throw issues and that wouldn't come back to get them. But he did have to hit him with that right before he ends. By the way, did you realize Rick Pitino was at Louisville for like 16, 17 seasons? I don't know why I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah, won a national championship, beat Michigan in a great game.
Yep.
Of course, John Beeline, a coach you bet, people. Sharp bettors know. If you know, you know. Let's talk about St. John's, though, because it is good to have the program back. They've got their first-round matchup against Nebraska Omaha, and then they're either going to get Kansas or Arkansas. Cake for St. John's. Let's be fair. Like, I think into the Sweet 16, they have a cakewalk. And then Sweet 16, it's going to be Drake, Missouri, Texas Tech, one of the three of those. Because NC Wilmington, nice little story, but probably not going to beat Texas Tech here.
Well, potentially if they get Arkansas. I am a little intrigued by Arkansas right now just because they're getting Boogie Flam back. And Campy talked about because they faced Arkansas, Oakland did. And he talked about Boogie Flan being a game changer, but there are some concerns about how Flan mixes back in because DJ Wagner's taken off as the point guard, and you don't know where Flan's conditioning is. But I do think there's a chance Arkansas could be a tough matchup for St. John's because they might be hitting their stride late in the year. But outside of that, let's say Kansas wins. St. John's will run Kansas out of the gym. The defense is just too intense. And I don't know what it is, but in this format, in tournament play, Pitino is just able to adjust better than whoever's on the other side.
Well, and if we're being completely fair, we have a major coaching mismatch if St. John's does take on Arkansas.
No.
Pitino, that's not fair.
John Calipari hasn't had to coach in like 20 years. He just recruits great players and says, have at it, boys.
The first four, big guy, we should probably touch on those numbers. You want to start North Carolina, San Diego State? What do you got there?
Yeah, so first off, an update, too, in the score right now. We do have one underway. St. Francis is up 29-26 on Alabama, 32-26 on Alabama State, which is interesting because Alabama State's a really good defensive team. St. Francis better on offense, but probably the worst team in this entire field. When it comes to the late game, 6:10 our time, 9:10 on the East Coast, North Carolina's laying 4.5. That total is 142.5 right now.
Okay, so San Diego State, of course, Mountain West, have had a ton of success over the last few years. Very well coached, going to defend you, generally have grown men playing. But North Carolina, you talked about it a little bit yesterday. And now that they're in, it certainly adds intrigue because it's a team that everybody's going to love to hate. But they kind of have a nice little path, if we're being honest about the Tar Heels.
Yeah, so I've gone back and forth on this today about what being in this does for them. Yesterday, my thought was it's a rallying cry. No one thinks we belong. No one thinks we're good enough to be here. Let's put it together and prove them wrong. And then there's another part of me that says there was a big exhale when they saw they were a part of this entire event, where they thought there was a chance they wouldn't be. I'm curious to see how this goes, just because we have such opposite styles to play here, as you mentioned. UNC wants to get up and go. They rely on RJ Davis to create things. They run a lot of isolation, a lot of screens, a lot of movement on offense. And then San Diego State, super long on the perimeter, great defensive team. They're going to slow this thing down to a freaking crawl. That doesn't fit what North Carolina wants to do. But at the same time, if the Tar Heels are able to push it, San Diego State doesn't have the ponies to run that race.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was just random musings, and 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Anything stands out as far as the bracket for you? Maybe bracket busters, some upsets you've looked at. Also, I have a question, and this would be the most susceptible number one seed. So obviously you have the number one overall seed, even having lost 3 of 4 coming into it in Auburn. Auburn didn't get the easiest path because they're going to get Louisville or Creighton in the round of 32. And then potentially, as you look ahead, you're looking at like a Michigan State in the mix, Elite 8 wise. Like, I was digging through Auburn's path. It's not overly simple.
No, it's kind of shocking to see for the number one overall seed. I don't know what the committee was thinking. I think Louisville is miscast as an 8. I think they're a lot better than that. Their potential's better than that. Thought that was weird. But there's also, a couple SEC teams in their part of the tournament. They have A&M. They have Ole Miss. Now, they made easy work of Ole Miss a couple times this year, so I'm not sure that's a concern. But you don't want to be facing familiar teams at this point in the season. So I thought the committee kind of did Auburn dirty here.
Yeah, Ole Miss, from what I saw, the 2 times I saw them this year, don't necessarily have the size. But I just looking at it, Auburn. Do you have one? Would it be Auburn most susceptible as a 1 seed?
No, so mine is Florida, just because of the coaches down in the West. And look, Golden's done an awesome job. The Gators, their odds have shortened up, almost cut in half from 7-1 a week ago down to plus 380. But the reality is, at any point in time, they could get matched up with a team that's pretty talented and also has a really good head coach. Like Maryland could be a tough matchup for them, potentially, just because the way that they can score. They could see St. John's. They could see Texas Tech. There are just good coaches in that region. Because of that, I think Florida's susceptible. Also, they feel a little trendy to me. I know I keep talking about that, but when a school and a team becomes so popular that every time you turn on the regular broadcast, not betting, but like a regular sports broadcast, and everyone on the panel says Florida's winning it all, that always has me concerned about Florida winning it all.
Yeah, I think it was Jay Billis I saw today. He said Florida's the best team in the country.
Everyone's saying it.
He said Florida's the best. I'm just telling you what he said. There's no reason to get bitter with me. He said Florida's the best team in the country. So, and obviously ran through the SEC conference tournament. Another thing that stood out to me, having a little fun with potpourri as far as the NCAA tournament. UC San Diego gets Michigan and Denver. Now, Michigan, Golden, Wolf, a good point guard, but they're loose with the ball. I think we could all agree to that. And this is UC San Diego has had a great year. And KenPom rankings tremendous. The concept that this is their first NCAA tournament appearance in program history, it's a good spot, but the number doesn't do them any favors because the market shows you, wasn't it 2.5 yesterday?
Yeah, I believe it opened 4.5. Let me double check that, but I believe it opened 4.5.
Dipped. Okay, is it still sitting 4.5 with Michigan laying it?
I have to go to a different.
Oh, it's 2.5.
Yeah, it's still 2.5 there, but I want to get the original number because I do believe they opened.
I got the opener of 2.5, but it might.
Oh, you do? Okay.
It might have been steeper. The point is, when you're talking about a Big Ten program like Michigan and UC San Diego, for a number to be that short, it immediately makes your attention drawn to the game.
Well, they've got veteran guys. They defend the perimeter. They haven't been eligible to play in the tournament because of moving up to Division I the way they have, but they've had players. That's the thing. And the thing that jumped out to me a few weeks ago was KenPom's rankings. When you go to KenPom's rankings, and I knew nothing about UC San Diego. I didn't watch them, but I was just scrolling and I was like, okay, I'll tell you where it's at now. Georgia's 34, Connecticut's 35, and then UC San Diego's 36, followed by Creighton and Oklahoma. And I went, hold on. UC San Diego's in the same class as the two-time defending champs. They're right there with Creighton, who's in the tournament every year. Who the hell is UC San Diego? And then you pull up the numbers, and they're awesome on offense. They're even better on defense. They shoot the three well. They defend the two well. That's going to be key against Michigan, defending the two. I'm not 100% sure if they have the size to deal with Golden down low, but I do think they're a good team defense because of that and because of the sloppiness the Wolverines have with the basketball on the offensive end. I think it could be a really long day for that offense. This is the second best team at forcing turnovers. That's why I like San Diego. You like San Diego. Everyone likes San Diego. I don't care that it's trendy. I'm all over this team.
Usually you like to go the other way. Not going to let the trendy play take you off your path. That's you sticking with your truth, big guy. Stick with your truth. Another one that stood out to me, two close-range teams as far as the state of Kansas in Wichita. So Drake in Missouri is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Number open Mizzou, 7.5 has dropped towards Drake, 6.5, somewhere in that range right now. We just talked about McCollum, who may be coaching his last games there at Drake. And Missouri is starting to catch some heat as a team that's being slept on. I think it was Tom Crean I saw today discussing don't sleep on Missouri. What I find fascinating is McCollum and Drake, they play at a snail pace. Like, I mean, they're the slowest as far as possessions. They're the slowest team in the country, and they're taking on a team that's number 5 overall in offense in the country per KenPom. So like this is going to be a very interesting contrasting styles with Drake and Missouri.
Yeah, I think a big thing to note for Missouri is like Dennis Gates did one of the best turnarounds since last year. Now he was there a year ago. They went 0-11 in SEC play, and now they're back in the tournament. So credit to him. He's done an awesome job. But an element of this game that I think is flying under the radar. Ben McCollum was the Northwest Missouri State head coach for a long time. He played there. He's playing now Missouri. He brought a large group of players who played with him at Division II Northwest Missouri State who you would assume grew up wanting to go to Missouri, play for the big school in the state. I go to their roster. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys from the state of Missouri. I think you have a Drake team that's not just motivated because they want to prove how legit they are, but motivated in the sense that these are kids that got passed over by Missouri when they were recruited years ago, ended up going D2, and now they have a chance to go back at them. I love that angle in this one. Drake's awesome all the time, but I love them under McCollum right now. They're cruising. I think they're going to be a really, really tough out for Missouri with the championship pedigree.
If you're fading like a Drake and UC San Diego, you're boring.
You are boring. That's what it's about.
That's what this effing tournament is about. Freaking big guy with the hat. That New York Mets hat stinks.
What?
Is that camouflage?
No, it's just.
Why does it have so many? Why does it have so? Those on YouTube can see it. VSiN live on YouTube. Why is there so many patches? That is a gross looking hat.
No,
that's a disgusting hat.
It's better than my hair right now because I didn't have time to shower after the gym, so I just threw a hat on.
The big guy is obsessed with his hair. He's obsessed with balding. That's really like you have to come clean because when you just talk about it out loud, it sets you free. For some reason, the balding thing is killing you.
What? No, so for a long time, I just had a giant forehead. And I'd accepted that was my fate in life. Like very early on, we're talking like 16 years old, forehead was just huge. But I never had like a patch in the back where it looks like I have a bald yarmulke and I'm going to Temple for high holidays right now. But unfortunately, as I've gotten older, just turned 40, I'm a man. And part of what comes with that apparently is that you start to lose your hair at a rapid rate. So I'm a little bitter that I had to deal with the big forehead. I just thought that was going to be my lot in life when it came to hair. But now I'm losing it on both ends. I'm losing a war on two fronts right now on the top of my head.
Well, the good news is, as your girlfriend told me at dinner, she likes you with a shaved head. So you're good.
Yeah, but she's also the one who keeps hinting like, you know, if you go to Turkey, it's just $5,000. They'll put all sorts of hair in your head.
She did bring up hair transplants. I'm not going to lie.
She brings it up a lot. I'm not going to lie either.
which means he's going to get it. And one thing I will say is be careful as well, big guy, because you tend to be, you get more hair on your body as you get older and less hair on your dome. So careful.
I don't know if it's
Make sure you
possible
get
for
the
me to
man
get
growth.
more. I don't know if it's possible for me to get more hair on my body.
And then finally, Dustin, and we'll get to some calls, 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646, Duke in the East and the Cooper Flag effect. Yeah, if you think about Cooper Flag, he's probably worth between 4.5 and 5.5 points to the line. They are your favorites, Duke, to win a national championship. Obviously, Duke is going to be a publicly bet team, but I think it dipped from like 3.25 to 375 with the Flag injury. I don't think there's going to be any issues with Cooper Flag in the tournament.
No, and he doesn't obviously have to play in the first game. They might need him against Baylor. I know Baylor wasn't very good this year, but that team was ranked like 8th in the preseason polls, so there's some talent there. And Drew's a pretty good head coach, but they likely won't need him to do too much against Baylor. And then we're getting to either Arizona or Oregon, one of those teams. The path is pretty good for them unless someone just shocks the world in that region, but I don't see that happening. I hate the top half of the East region.
I think Duke, if I've got McCollum on my mind, I think Duke is going to cruise into the Sweet 16. We shall see. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. So first hour, we're just going to have some fun. Actually, Randall's coming up.
That's right.
It's not bad. So we'll get from maybe the best college basketball bettor that we know. Remember, he did hit 8 straight bets here on the program to start off with college hoops. So tremendous. We'll get his take. Coming back with our buddy Mike Randall. VSiN Live. It's Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. mad all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, the big guy, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Meagher, and big news over at VSiN.com. We dropped the mega NCAA tournament betting guide, so make sure you go check that out. Again, we're streaming live right now on YouTube, just so you can see Mike Randall, youtube.com/VSiN Live, and we've got a wonderful little component over there. Every single game in the tournament, you click the button, you get 90 seconds on the game. So go over to VSiN Live on YouTube. Now, I mentioned Mike Randall, who, to me, the two opinions I respect the most, and been doing it for a long time when it comes to college hoops, is Mike Randall and Thomas Gable. Mike Randall, of course, FTNFantasy.com. Coming up in a bit, he'll be on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. He hosts a show 8 to 10 at Randall Rant on Twitter. But this is greatness. I mean, this is the time of year that you live for. How are you feeling?
I feel refreshed and replenished. I can't, honestly. Went for my run, listened to some DMX before Selection Sunday. I do it every year. Had a drink tonight before the game. This is it. This is what you wait for. This is your life. As Tony from Rocky IV said, this is your life. Everything is here.
Well, I'm curious then.
I'm curious. It to you.
I'm curious, Mike, then what does the routine look like on the big day, on Thursday, where, you know, the games start early, you're supposed to be doing work, but I guess technically for you, it is your work. What does Thursday look like? How do you map it out? Do you get rid of the kids? Do you get rid of the family? What do you do?
True story. I'll tell you what I used to do. My two closest friends of life used to take the day off from work, take our personal day, and we would go to Tony Siragusa's place in Western New Jersey. Unfortunately, he has passed, and that place is closed. We were there at 11:30, and we'd walk in, and the bartender would say "Merry Christmas" to us every time we walked in, and we would be there. Loved it. It was incredible. And we'd watch all the games. But guys, it's been a little different now because the games are more spread out. So really the big action happens at night when it's prime time. I used to like old school when there was like 4 games between 12 o'clock and 2:30. Now there's like one at 12:30, one at 12:50, then another one at 2:30. So it's a little more spread out. But that was the old routine. We loved the Tiffany's out on Route 46 in New Jersey. Chicken wings, fingers, Dustin, everything you could imagine. It was great.
Merry Christmas. As we delve into the bracket, let's do a couple things. Tori and Dog on Sunday do their selection Sunday show. They had Bubba from North Carolina, the chair of the committee. They had the vice, and they crushed them. It was actually hard to listen to because it was so awkward. And obviously, they brought up West Virginia. I bring up West Virginia because they got crushed, didn't make the dance, and now DeVries gets bought out, heads to Indiana. Do you like the hire for Indiana?
Yeah, and I can't help but think, Patrick, that was part of it. I know that sounds a little crazy, but if they knew he was leaving and it was close and it would come out, they don't want that drama taking away from the tournament. So I can't help but think, my friend, that maybe that was part of it. But the whole thing was odd with the bonus that he gets. He says he steps out of the room. Guys, imagine us 3 picking something and Swedelson just steps out of the room. But we're having dinner with him that night anyway. You know, it's just ridiculous. But it's fine. Like North Carolina's in. I get it. I think West Virginia should have been in. They had some big wins, and they played well without DeVries, and they should have been rewarded for that. But Indiana, I'd have no interest in Indiana. Sorry.
Well, what do you think happens with North Carolina now? Because is it house money, or does getting in maybe have them let up a little? Like, what do you think happens? And tonight they're laying 4.5 in this first 4 game against San Diego State. Totals 141.5.
Yeah, one of my favorite phrases of all time, right church, wrong pew. I know the playing game winner always gets hot. It is not going to be this game, guys. First of all, whoever gets through this game, which I think will be San Diego State, because they're getting their big 7-foot freshman back who, before he hurt his knee, averaged 5 blocks per game in the prior 5 games, like 4.7 blocks per game. So he's going to provide some resistance on the interior. North Carolina's not great on the interior. I don't think Hubert will outcoach Brian Dutcher, who's a tremendous coach. And the winner of this game is playing Ole Miss. So there's Chris Beard, who's now angry because he's being disrespected. And they cut their nails. Iron sharpens iron in the SEC. So I don't think whatever happens in this game, and I do think, Dustin, it'll be San Diego State. I think they're losing Ole Miss. It doesn't really matter. But the only way that North Carolina wins this game is if R.J. Davis wrecks the game. That's the only thing I'm worried about. If you can tell me a stat line right now is 13 points, you could go and take San Diego State on the money line. There's no problem. But I'll take the Aztecs tonight for sure.
Okay. Mike Randall joining us talking college hoops with the NCAA tournament, of course, first four underway. You get the bracket. What stood out? Like, for example, we were just going through some of the fun matchups: Drake, Missouri, UC San Diego, of course, Michigan. Is there anything else as far as storylines that stood out to you?
Yeah, the Midwest bracket. I told my wife if I leave her, it's going to be for the Midwest bracket. I love everything that's in the Midwest bracket, and you guys know why. I mean, Houston's in there. You have McNeese. High Point versus Purdue is great. A Xavier team that I think is going to get very hot. And look who is sitting at the 14 seed. He only recruits players who go to Waffle House. I mean, we love Scott Cross even more. Troy is sitting there. And, of course, Tennessee, Rick Barnes, who continues to get disrespected. So right off the bat, Patrick, I love the Midwest. Can we stop arguing that Florida maybe shouldn't have had should have top seed over Auburn? That is not true. Auburn had 16 quad one wins. That's a crazy number. They were the dominant team from start to finish. I know Florida beat them at Auburn without Elijah Martin. That's great. Auburn was the best team in the country this year. They should be the number one seed. But I'll tell you this, I think Florida would rather take their bracket than Auburn's bracket. You know, they have Louisville in Lexington, which is a problem. Texas A&M, who just beat them there. They end up on the bottom, have Iowa State. I know they're shorthanded. Then who's sitting at the bottom? Izzo. So I think Florida actually has an easier path, although St. John's will be a problem, than Auburn, even though Auburn's number one overall seed.
Let's stay in the Midwest, though, because I think there's a really fascinating matchup. We've got number 5 Clemson, number 12 McNeese. A year ago, Randall, we all fell in love with McNeese. We saw the analytics, we saw the numbers, we saw Will Wade. Now he's taking on Brad Brownell's group, who made a run a year ago, and both of them are up for some jobs this offseason. What do you think about that 5-12 matchup, and is the 12 live?
No, they're not live. McNeese is a team that struggles to score. McNeese is a team that, yes, they turn you over, but they're terrible on the boards. And they're going to face a Clemson team that is elite defensively, guys. Top 16 in the country in defensive efficiency. And they also force turnovers at a high rate. Clemson is really good. Brad Brownell's done a wonderful job. And you guys know they would have been in the Final Four last year if Alabama didn't go nuclear from 3 in that last game in the Elite Eight. So Clemson is being undervalued. They're not sexy. They don't have a high-profile player. Chase Hunter, sort of a mild-mannered guy, but he's a great player. Ian Shiflin inside with the rebound. You wouldn't even pick him if you're going 5-on-5 down at the park, but he's a tremendous player. Clemson is beating McNeese. Don't fall for that trap. I don't want to hear about 5-12. I don't want to hear about McNeese. Will Wade, good job. He's going to lose again to Clemson this year. Clemson is good.
Okay, you don't want to hear about 5-12, but let's go 6-11 in the East. What a matchup. BYU wants to bomb it, got shooters. VCU is going to show. That is right now the numbers 3. BYU, VCU. What do you got?
Yeah, it's BYU. I don't get the love for VCU. I mean, I think we're falling in love with the idea of VCU rather than what they did this year. BYU, you know, they ended my streak here on the radio with a tremendous win at Iowa State. This team is tough. They beat Kansas, guys, by what, 47 or 37 points at home? VCU is 2-1 against quad one opponents this year, guys. 2-1. So the illustrious wins for VCU against quad one opponents, they lost in New Mexico. They beat Colorado State in a neutral. Good win, like Colorado State. And they won away at Dayton. Really? Well, they also lost to Seton Hall in a neutral. So we love VCU. We love the havoc. We love everything about them. Guys, this is not a great VCU team. I think BYU here under head coach Kevin Young, first year coming over from the NBA, I think they beat them. I think they hang around for a long time. People are in love with VCU. I don't get it. They haven't beaten anyone. And now you're going against an NBA mind and Richie Saunders and Mawat Mag, who came over from Rutgers and plays defense enough. I think BYU wins. I think the public is wrong on this one.
Randall, my spicy opinion in that East region is that St. Mary's is going to the Elite Eight. Feel free to crush me. I just think draw-wise, they defend the 3. They can rebound against anyone. And it looks like in their portion of this region, they will get a 3-point dependent team. And who knows if those shots fall. Am I absolutely crazy about St. Mary's?
You're brilliant. I could leave right now. I have BYU against St. Mary's in the Elite Eight. Alabama, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. They're not going to get hot from 3. They have been hot from 3 all year long. Yeah. Last year, they were good from 3. I just thought it was going to end, and it didn't. This year, they haven't been good from 3. All of a sudden, we sure they're beating Robert Morris? We're sure about that. I've seen Robert Morris. I know we don't like it because it's the name of a person, but give me a break. I think Robert Morris is a problem here for Alabama. Those 3s don't fall. They've been very disjointed. Yes, they beat Auburn at the end of the year, but Auburn didn't care about that game. Absolutely. I like St. Mary's top 30 in height. Everything you just said, they take care of the basketball. Alabama can't make some shots. And Randy Bennett, great coach. So, yeah, I think St. Mary's gets by Vanderbilt. And I think they're going to the Sweet 16, and they're playing BYU.
He's dialed in. It's greatness. He's spicy. See, here's the thing about Randall. You know, you catch him casually in an NFL season. have a nice little conversation. Maybe he'll crack a couple of jokes. He's not in the mood right now.
No.
He's spicy.
Business. This is
FTC.
business.
Business time. FTNFantasy.com, SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. That's Randall. That's greatness. Let's go south and talk about a matchup that everybody's obsessed with. UC San Diego and Michigan. Michigan's laying 2.5. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about here. I like UC San Diego. And don't tell me that the trendy picks don't win. Really? How about JMU against Wisconsin last year? How'd that turn out? How about Furman against Virginia in 2023? How'd that turn out? Trendy picks are trendy picks for a reason. This is 2.5 points. This is a Michigan team. It's one of the worst teams in the country at offensive turnovers. They just give it away because their backcourt's terrible. And I know Trey Donaldson to the basket makes a last-second shot. That's great. How about the other 39 minutes that occurred in the game? Now they're going to face the UC San Diego team. The Tritons are tough. They force turnovers. They're well coached. They hit threes. I like them. I like UC San Diego. I don't care that it's trendy. I'm on it. Majority bets are still in Michigan, but I feel like the Sharps get it here. I think UC San Diego is winning this game. Wouldn't be surprised to see him hang around for a couple rounds either. Michigan is going down. They won the Big Ten. Great job, Dusty May. You got a tea time coming up this week.
This South region is totally juicy, Randall. Iowa State, the 3 seed, completely limping into this event, taking on number 14 Lipscomb. Why are we not putting the mortgage on Lipscomb in the points right now? They're catching 14.5.
Because it's Lipscomb and they don't play defense. And I get it. No Keyshawn Gilbert means no Final Four. It's that simple. I had a plus 1,300 ticket earlier this year in Iowa State. If they're healthy, they can beat anyone. But you guys know from the BYU game, you take away a key piece, it's a problem. They hung around in the rematch against BYU in the Big 12 tournament, which is great. I think that TJ Osselberger, the Wizard of Oz, gets by him here by Lipscomb because he's such a good coach, but I don't think they get by Ole Miss. I agree with you. Love Iowa State, but they're a Weeble. They're like a Jenga puzzle. You take one piece out, everything falls apart. No Keyshawn Gilbert is a problem. Curtis Jones, by the way, may shoot 30 shots in this game. I get that, but I'll take Iowa State to squeak by but not cover against Lipscomb and then to lose to Ole Miss.
As Greg Campy said on the program here at VSiN Live yesterday, Pitino, great coach, leaves programs in a wake of destruction. St. John's, bottom of the West, looks like a potential matchup against Texas Tech. How far do you have this St. John's team going?
Well, it's interesting here, guys, because there has been a trend that teams that are a 1 or a 2 seed that were not ranked in the beginning of the season ended up struggling in the tournament and not making the Final Four. Now, the two that fit this description are the Michigan State Spartans and the St. John's Red Storm. And I think when you fill out your brackets, these are the key questions. St. John's defense is legit. They're playing in Providence, Pitino's second home. They're going to get by Omaha and then Kansas. Don't even tell me Calipari's beating Bill Self. Is that even worth a discussion? So they're going to get by Kansas. But here's the problem. I think there will be a game, guys, where St. John's can't make shots. And when they can't make shots at a neutral site, that's going to be a bit of a problem. I just don't see them going to the Final Four. I don't think they get upset early, but them against Drake in the Sweet 16 is frisky, and they are not beating Florida. So I like St. John's. I have them going the Elite Eight, but they're going out. This West bracket, to me, Patrick, is chalk. It's chalk city. This is the chalky bracket. The Midwest bracket is the blow-up bracket.
Well, let's talk about the Midwest then. Houston, it looks like, things will be fine in that opening matchup, obviously. Then potentially Gonzaga. And I don't know, the metrics when I look at them, Randall, tell me that Gonzaga's awesome, but in my head is the 2 regular season losses to St. Mary's during the regular season. Is this Zags team with few, are they good enough to upset Gonzaga in that second round matchup?
No, they're not. They're not tough enough. And they got pushed around by St. Mary's. They're going to wave the white flag in Houston 5 minutes into the game. If you're going to get Houston, because of the way they play and their defensive intensity, you have to get them in the Sweet 16, unless there's an injury. Last year they had an injury, and that's why they ended up losing to Duke. But the team that can get them is Clemson. Clemson is a veteran team, top 10 in the country in experience. They've been in big games. They played Alabama last year. They're going to be hungry. They're well coached. And the loss of Jawan Roberts, I don't know if he's healthy or not. He was in a boot when they got announced on Selection Sunday, is a big deal for Houston. They're tough. They're physical. That's good enough to beat the Zags. That's fine. I don't think they're beating Clemson. I think that's where they're going down. I don't have them going to the Final Four. Jawan Roberts was healthy, but a different story.
Talking tournament with Mike Randall. Yale, huge win last year. 13 seed taking on a 4 seed in Texas A&M. Can they push them?
No, that's not happening. You're dealing with a coach in Buzz Williams who is very tough to upset because he's so well prepared. And we saw Yale last year against Auburn. Guys, I just want to let you know, Auburn was running away with that game until Chad Baker-Mazara decided to take a cheap shot on the way down on Pulikitis and got ejected from the game. So Auburn went there last year and got upset. You saw the situation now where Texas A&M rather, saw this happen last year. They are not going to fall into the same trap. They're very physical. They're a great defense. I get it. They're not going to be surprised. This is not the matchup. I like Yale. I like the Ivy League, but they're going to be ready for this one. Buzz is going to have something cooked up, and I don't think they have anyone who can guard Wade Taylor. That's not to say Wade Taylor's not going to have a bad game. He does from time to time. I just don't think it's going to be against Yale. This is not the upset either. I'm taking Texas A&M.
The talking point has been about the ACC that it's down this year, Randall. And I mean, there's no denying that, but I do think Louisville is a sneaky team here with some of the vets they have in the guard play, and Kelsey's a great coach. They're laying 2.5 against Creighton in that 8-9 matchup in the South. Totals 144.5. Do you buy the Cardinals in this one?
Dustin, I thought about it because it's in Kentucky and the 8-9 game's always tough. I think it's a really close game. I think Louisville's up with 4 minutes left. I get it. I just think Auburn has too much talent. And last year they came in smoking hot, Auburn. They won the SEC tournament and they lose to Yale. So it's not like you can't reverse trends if you're coming in struggling or either way. So I think Auburn gets by them. I love Pat Kelsey. I love what he's doing. No Kayshawn Pryor inside who had gotten hurt earlier this year, but they overcame that. I get it. They're scalding hot. I understand. I just think Auburn has too much talent. I think they get it right. And I think the other issue too is if they play in the Sweet 16, Kelsey will have time to come up with something. On the quick turnaround here in the round of 32, I don't see it.
I'm assuming Mrs. Randall and the kids know that this is your time of year. Leave dad alone. Let him dial in, grab a Peroni, and let's attack the board. That's greatness. That's Mike Randall, FTNFantasy.com, SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, coming up in just about 11 minutes at Randall Rant on Twitter. It's greatness. Thanks, Randall.
You guys are the best. Talk soon.
Okay, that's Mike Randall. Let's do this. And he's all over it, people.
He's locked and loaded.
Yeah, he's locked. He's dialed in, and you expect nothing less this time of the year with Randall. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. So we're just kind of potpourriing it, having some fun with potential sleepers, the most susceptible 1 seed, and we'll continue with your calls. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Of course, every night, streaming live, not just on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube, VSiN Live. I'll let you know about the March Bracket Challenge, your opportunity to win $5,000 for free, coming up in just a little bit. But you can also find us Rumble, Twitch, and Kick as well. Ryan doing a great job running the scene there in Las Vegas. And remember, when you go to the YouTube page, hit sub for us, give us a thumbs up, helps with the algo. We appreciate that. Naya, let's jump to the phones here and talk to our buddy Craig in Las Vegas. He joins us on VSiN Live. Hey, Craig, what's up?
What's up, guys? Hey, are we going to see a show from Turkey soon with the big guy, maybe? Is that what we're talking about?
Hey, listen, as long as they got Wi-Fi, he can get a hair transplant and do a show. That's all I care about.
Hey, if we can get that sponsored and pay for it, that'd be really helpful, too. I'm happy to be a spokesperson.
Let's go.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like, imagine him in the lobby with the robe on doing the show.
I can, Craig. I can.
Yeah.
Hey, I saw that UCSD team play Saturday night against UC Irvine, and they covered easy, right? They're a good cover team. My only fear with them is they have no height at all. And if a team that has some decent interior post play, I do think they can get eaten up a little bit down low. I think the same thing with Missouri versus Drake. Missouri, they don't have the most talented big guys in there, but they can keep up and use a lot of fouls underneath. And I like Dennis Gates, the way he coaches too. So I'm a little bit on the other side of those two. I'm a little worried just because of the size. But the last thing I ask is, we see so many foul calls, right? And I think Jay Billis was talking about one broadcast about getting quarters into men's hoops. How much do you look into the free throw percentage of these teams? Because to me, that makes such a difference in coverage, because a team could go in the double bonus within 10 minutes, and then the rest of the, you don't know if they're going to make, but they're at least going to get two shots every time.
Great call, Craig. Appreciate you. Yeah, no, when you're talking about tenets of betting the tournament, you are looking directly at free throw percentage, because these games, specifically once you get out of the round of 68, big guy, these games eventually come down to free throws, and you can go to KenPom and find the free throw percentage for free. But again, always a huge factor.
Especially when you're laying a number, because late in the game, if they have a lead, you want them to be able to protect that lead and add to it and cover the number. The worst way to lose covering a game where your team ends up winning is for them to miss by a point or two because they missed a couple late free throws.
And Craig mentioned UC San Diego and their cover rate. He's 100% right. They're one of the best in the country. Your top three in the tournament: Robert Morris is 26-7 ATS. UC San Diego's 25-7 ATS. And Florida in the SEC, this is impressive, 26-8 ATS. Now, your worst cover teams, now we're talking against the spread, they don't cover the number in the field. Baylor 12-20. Oof. Grand Canyon 13-19, and San Diego State, who plays coming up in a little bit tonight, 12-17 ATS. Now, Randall does like the Aztecs in that matchup against North Carolina with the number.
Oh yeah, I took it. I took it with San Diego State. I thought about it all day, and I think the talking point that I originally came up with from a betting side of things was just too obvious when it came down to, oh, it's a rallying cry. It's giving them a little bit of push and motivation for the Tar Heels. But I took the points of San Diego State. I think with defensive teams, they dictate the pace. Also, I know Hubert Davis is 8-1 against the spread in NCAA tournament games, but I'll ask you this. Who do you trust more? Brian Dutcher, who just takes this team to the tournament every year, or Hubert Davis, who's up and down every year?
No, yeah. No, it's Dutcher. 100%. What is is it 6.5?
No, it's 4.5. 4.5 is the number tonight.
4.5? With
Yes.
North Carolina laying it, obviously. Okay.
It feels like a big number when you have San Diego State, who's in like these types of situations every year, and North Carolina's offense is not reliable this year. I just thought it was too many points. I think San Diego State could win this thing outright.
I was going to say, if you're that confident, go money line.
Maybe we'll do that too.
Let's do it. Let's go. We still have some time. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we welcome you back. Got a lot of cool stuff going on right now over at VSiN.com, including a bracket challenge, which for the big guy, and this is for Dustin Swedelson, who likes to get involved in the little contest. Now, my reads page just shut down on me, and I have to re-log into Google.
Oh, I'll tell you because I already filled mine out today. I'll tell you all about it.
Tell them how to get to it, too, please.
So it's VSiN.com/contest. It's free to enter. You can showcase your handicapping skills for a chance to win $5,000 in prizes. What you'll do is make 40 picks against the spread or on totals over the course of 6 tournament rounds. So for the first round, I submitted my 20 picks that you have to make in the first round. You can do sides, you can do totals. All those odds are via Circus Sports Odds. Registration's open right now. Contest runs through the championship game on April 7th, but you got to get those picks in before the games start. You do it by going to VSiN.com/contest.
Yep, and Ryan just submitted his, who's running our YouTube over there in Vegas. You can submit yours. It's completely free. Just go check out the contest over at VSiN.com/contests, and you can follow along with this program, VSiN Live, on YouTube at VSiN Live. And remember, if you want just to check out a random game, we're breaking down every game on our YouTube page, VSiN Live. You just click it. You get 60 to 90 seconds, quick, succinct. One thing I want to mention, and our buddy Craig made me think about this, when talking about looking at important factors, or we're talking about free throw shooting and talking about metrics. Also, don't forget to handicap totals beyond the money lines, beyond the spread. You got to analyze, and you can find this over at KenPom, who we had on the program. But game flow, tempo, team styles, there's a lot of ways. If you are maybe thrown off by a number, start looking at the total. Some of the teams that like to run, for example, Missouri, that's why they play little defense, but they're going to go, and the 5th best offense as far as efficiency in the country, taking on a slow Drake team. So you're trying to look for factors when talking about style of play for these teams and tempo when talking about the totals.
Yeah, so our March Mania guide's available over at VSiN.com, breakdowns of everything, all the games, best bets from everyone. And speaking of totals, Ryan Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast submitted this for his one best bet for the guide. I'll give it to you as a freebie right now. His best bet was all 36 first half unders for the first 4 in first round, because going back to 2011, first half unders in those games are hitting at 57%. And there's a lot of reason for that. There's nerves, there's new sight lines, there's travel issues, there's teams coming off playing 3 games in 3 days with just a couple days rest, where they're not used to having that type of turnaround. So he just went all 36 first half unders, first 4 in first round for his best bet.
Yeah, and the big guy mentioned something that you're going to hear a lot about when betting the NCAA tournament, and that's sight lines, and that's just practical. So they're playing in cavernous buildings that they haven't played in before, and it's very simple. If you played basketball in your life and you're shooting at a different backboard with something behind it that isn't familiar, that throws you off, and that often can lead to those unders early on. So it's a good job there. A couple of things just to start the top of the hour. One, Indiana has named West Virginia's Darian DeVries as its new head coach. Steve Torrey, an Indiana guy, is excited about it. At 49 years old, no-brainer. I think it's a great hire. McCollum's going to end up at Iowa most likely. DeVries taking the Indiana job. He had a good job at West Virginia. Indiana, you can't pass up on. He's an Iowa kid, so back close to home. Bring his son with him. DeVries is going to win. Either you win or you don't. It's like Kelsey moving from College of Charleston to Louisville, taking a decrepit program that had fallen off so far. He brought in a culture. He brought in his players, and he wins in year 1, and he's back in the dance. DeVries will do the same.
I just like it as a shift in philosophy, where Indiana for years was so obsessed with winning the press conference, getting the sexy name, getting the top pick of the offseason. And I think in this one, they just got a good basketball coach. And that's what matters here. And he's proven he doesn't need 5 stars to win. I think that's most important here, because in today's world, you don't necessarily have to have that 5-star John Calipari back in Kentucky, Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist that year. You don't have to have a recruiting like class like that anymore. You can just find players that fit what you want to do and coach them up. And DeVries has done that at a couple stops now. So I just love the hire from that point. He's going to be able to find guys he can win with as long as Indiana doesn't put the pressure on him to do something that he doesn't normally do.
Yeah, I actually, those in the know in the college basketball space, this is a winning press conference. Like DeVries is a big deal.
No, you're probably right.
Like if you think about it, how many coaches right now, you're going to win a press conference with Izzo, you're going to win a press conference with Pitino, though older. There's a few names, but they're few and far between at this point.
Yeah,
but
you know
DeVries in the know it's a good name. It's a good
you're
hire.
You're probably right. I'm just maybe thinking it just as a guy who only did it 1 year at a power program versus,
Fair.
most of his career at Drake. But you're probably right. From basketball circles, no one is going to dispute that this is a great hire for the program.
Yeah, totally agree. We'll get back into the tournament, but just wanted to pass this along with some details. So, Aaron Rodgers still available. Russell Wilson still available. You had Mel Kiper today saying Shedeur Sanders better than Cam Ward. He thinks the Giants should take him. I think he could start to shift the narrative. That's how it works, which is random. But Cam Hayward isn't joining Aaron Rodgers anytime soon on a darkness retreat. I could just say that. So he went on a podcast today and said he's certainly not going to go to great lengths to recruit the 4-time MVP to sign with the Steelers. He said, this is Hayward. I ain't doing no darkness retreat. I don't need any of that crap. Either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't. It's that simple. That's the pitch. If you want me to recruit, that's the recruiting pitch. Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to be a part of it, so be it. If you don't, no skin off my back. I just want to play football. I'm tired of talking about the quarterback situation. I'd rather have it done. I don't know what ends up happening. I'm ready to move on into free agency. There's so much going on. So, of course, the Steelers add DK Metcalf, and they await who is going to be the signal caller. It looks like Cleveland is going to land Russell Wilson.
No,
that's what I'm starting to. And I believe Minnesota could very much land Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I don't buy the Kirk Cousins stuff. I don't buy that he's going to be on the Falcons roster. I know they took the hit with the bonus, but I think the Falcons are sitting back and waiting for teams to not get who they want and then go through the draft and not draft the quarterback that they thought they could get. And then the asking price in a trade goes up for Kirk Cousins. I think that gets added to the mix too. The fact that Rodgers may wait till after the draft too is absolutely insane as well. Like the fact that he's going to put these teams on hold and make them sit around and wait while they have to fill out their roster and figure out what their situations are next year, that he's just going to sit back. That is the greatest stroke of ego we've ever seen from Rodgers.
Yeah, well, would it surprise you? What stood out to me, in theory, Rodgers isn't really doing anything wrong here. The team's taking its time as well. Wilson hasn't been signed either. So in theory, he's not doing anything wrong. But it's just the idea, just the concept, just the figure of Rodgers that even before he gets there, it starts to infiltrate the organization. That is what you have to be careful about if you're thinking about signing Rodgers. That's just facts. That happened with the Jets.
But that locker room's not used to it. That's not how they operate. Like, that's not what the Steelers do. That stuff pops up when players leave the building. It doesn't happen while they're there. Those players don't want to deal with that. They just want to play football. And if you're in the Aaron Rodgers business, unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers becomes the topic that you're talking about every single day when you meet with the media. And if Cam Hayward's talking like that, and by the way, we've had Cam Hayward on the show, seems like a good stand-up dude. I just don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to mesh with their vibe over there.
That's one thing that you brought up many times. So I want to follow up with you on it. An 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. You have this obsession with Aaron Rodgers getting along with Tomlin.
No, it's not get along. It's that Mike Tomlin makes things about the team. Mike Tomlin, he had Antonio Brown under control, and the second he left, he blew up everywhere. Same happened for Le'Veon Bell. Same happened with maybe Rashard Mendenhall, if I'm remembering correctly. But while they're a Steeler, there's never any drama. There's never any issues because Mike Tomlin handles his stuff. If Aaron Rodgers is willing to fall in line and do it the way that organization does it, I think it's a fit. But if he's going to keep doing what he normally does, I think he could annoy the guys in that locker room.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Tomlin, it'll be fascinating to see where Rodgers ends up. Just a couple more things before we get back into the tournament. If you're thinking about the Bucks Warriors tonight, they're going to give Curry a blow. So the Bucks are laying 2.5 on the road at Golden State. I wrote this down in my notes to bring it up because I was watching last night, big guy. And that is, we probably should start to have a conversation about the third best option in basketball. And it may stop with Austin Reeves. Because last night, Austin Reeves, Lakers, he dropped 30 on the Spurs, 125-109 win. 30, 7 boards, 6 assists. This is what he does. Like, he is now just becoming a guy. It's like 30, 28, 37, 28. He is becoming elite, like a star.
No. He is the best third option. When we talked about it, I was a couple months ago. I had Porzingis 1 and Reeves 2. Yeah, with the way Porzingis is dealing with the illness, but more importantly, the development of Reeves. Reeves is thriving this year, man. And he actually, you see how good he can be when LeBron or when Luka was not ready yet. You see the potential. There's a star in there if you build the offense around him and get him looks, because there's nowhere on the floor where he's not ready to score from. I completely agree with you.
He 30 last night. Phoenix had 28. Denver had 37. Milwaukee had 28. That's his last 4. That's insane. And by the way, Austin Reeves, neighbor. I see him walking his husky. Kind of a donk.
Yeah, well, when you and me walk through the wind on Thursday, you'll be walking your husky too.
He's got a beautiful dog. And it's like, oh, how do you know it's Austin Reeves? Because he's kind of an anonymous looking person. I don't know. He's the tallest white guy in town. always wearing Laker jump up. Always wearing Laker gear.
Ooh, that's an interesting strategy. Do you think that's for the ladies? Because if I was Austin Reeves, I'm not wearing that gear in public. It's the best way to get identified. Although you're right. He is a generic 6'3" white guy with the puffy hair. They could just think he's a super fan.
Well, I mean, and also it comes down to this, because all white people look alike. It's either Reeves or Dalton Connect.
It's probably spot on. They should pretend to be each other.
Because let's be honest, they look exactly the same.
I wouldn't be able to tell them apart, and I've watched Laker games this year.
Anything else NBA-wise that I had written down? I don't think so. LeBron's going to be back. That injury's not serious. Elsewhere, I thought it was surprising the other night. 16-game win streak by the Cavs got busted up by Orlando. That stands out. Porzingis is back for the Celtics. Right now, the Cavs are favorites in the East, should be favorites in the East. They are better than Boston. That's no disrespect to Boston. The Cavs are going to be hungry as well. And out West, I think you were ahead of this. I think there's a conversation to be had about Golden State. I think Denver is trending the opposite way, though Gordon, we kind of have to see him with Gordon. And I'm telling you right now, SGA is an all-time great. Gilgeous-Alexander and this team, and I understand pride, I get it. But if you watch Oklahoma City, and somehow they've been playing on Sunday night nonstop, and I've just been watching this team. They're great. They're literally great. And Holmgren and Hartenstein, your boy, those two bigs now as a compliment. This team's going to win the championship. I'm sorry.
I know, but isn't there something to be said that their style and the way they're doing it, it fits better for a regular season versus like a condensed playoff series? Like, I just have concern. I also have concerns if SGA's shot's not falling, the second, the third options, if teams key in on him or he has an off night, what does it look like for them offensively? I get it. They've been ridiculous and they're fun to watch, but there's so many interesting teams in the West that I feel like in a 6 or a 7-game series just feel like a tough out against a young team.
All right. Your Denver Nuggets. I'm starting to fade them.
No, look, and they won without Jokic. They won without Jokic, Murray, and Brown the other night. But yeah, I don't know if they're ever really putting it together. it does feel like the lack of depth is starting to wear on them as a whole.
All right, we've got Stuart Durst joining us on the program coming up in just a bit. Mike Randall is going to, excuse me, we had Mike Randall. We're going to have Mike Somich stop by. Somich had the great article over at VSiN.com about some parlay betting when it comes to with teams. And again, Elite 8, Sweet 16 over at VSiN.com, which has been very popular. So Somich is going to join and discuss more. We can get back to it. Officially coming up in under an hour, North Carolina playing San Diego State. Like the coaching matchup for San Diego State, no doubt. Get a little healthier, and we're taking the 4.5 as a family, correct?
Yeah, look, San Diego State, they're so good defensively. They're 14th in the country, holding teams under 64 per game. They're 8th against the 2. They're 1st in block rate. And oh, by the way, they get a 7-footer back. This kid who won Mountain West Freshman of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, I won't begin to try and say his name. I believe I will actually. I'm going to go against what I just said. Magoon Guath. He hyperextended his knees, missed 5 games. He's back for this one. I just think it's a spot where they're going to disrupt what UNC wants to do on offense. And if they can't generate that flow that they want, they're not hanging in a style of fight that San Diego wants to play.
Oh, before we get back to the calls, I did want to mention NBA-wise, how could I forget the biggest story of the night last night? That was Tracy Morgan losing his lunch at Madison Square. That was the weirdest. Like, first off, you just hope the dude's okay.
Yes.
Tracy Morgan's been through a lot. I'm not going to pretend to know what's happening. He said food poisoning. My man was projectile vomiting all over MSG. It was a weird scene if you saw it.
Yeah, and then the post was it was food poisoning. That's what he said it was. I believe I had that one time, and I can tell you I experienced similar symptoms, and it was not fun. But to see it courtside, and there was a great shot of Bobby Bacala from The Sopranos standing over, looking at him with a face of just like, oh, that's not good. And when Bobby Bacala is the one giving you the side eye about something, you know you're really messed up.
But here's what the first thing I thought about. Now, again, I am a recluse, so take this with a grain of salt. I wouldn't go to a game, but I certainly wouldn't go to the game if I wasn't feeling 100p. And if I had any inkling of food poisoning, I probably wouldn't be sitting on the wood.
Yeah, you know what? It's probably a fair point by you. It's probably a fair point. But maybe I'm not going to put any blame here, but maybe it happened at Madison Square Garden. I'm not going to say they're at fault, but perhaps he didn't know. And he ate some bad chicken tenders or a slice of pizza that touched something it shouldn't, and that's what led to the vomiting attack.
I'll just say this. If you're a person with a weak constitution when it comes to seeing people throw up, don't look it up. But if you're a person that doesn't have a weak constitution and wants, not at his expense, but wants to get a chuckle, it's fun. The pictures are unbelievable because people caught him mid-projectile.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable what they were able to get. It's remarkable that someone caught it, just happened to be taking the picture as it's literally both out of his mouth and touching the floor at the same time. I don't know what the award is. It's like, I know Nobel Peace Prize, but I don't know what the award is for Photo of the Year. It has potential to win Photo of the Year.
Yeah, Tracy Morgan, who is an amazing comic. If it was food poisoning, he ate a lot of food. Because a lot, I mean, has it ever even happened? Has anybody, and just the randomness of it being a star?
No.
We've never had somebody just projectile vomiting sitting at, not that I know of.
No. The only, I can remember courtside thing that jumps out to me is when the waitress at a game and LeBron was delivering drinks and LeBron bumped into her and she spilt the drinks everywhere. That's the only sideline thing that I can remember being somewhat similar at a basketball game. I've never seen anyone just hawk up their lunch in the middle of a game and they have to stop the game and he has to get wheeled out of there on a stretcher or wheelchair, whatever it was. That is unlike anything I've ever witnessed.
It's weird. Hey, listen, whether it's food poisoning or not, as an adult, you're not supposed to be throwing up. Anyway, we digress. Let's get back to the calls. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. We know our next caller in San Diego is getting ready to get the boys together for his Vegas trip. That's our guy, Tommy. Tommy joins us VSiN Live. What up, Tommy?
Hey, man, so we're not doing family and the 4.5, dude. We're going money line.
Let's go. Let's
We're
go.
going money line. It's a big deal, just like Dustin was talking about. Getting Magoon back is a huge, dude, that's the hugest thing of the night. I'm telling you right now. There's a lot going on tonight. We've got the auction, so I'll be there, 60 people screaming and yelling at me, the game behind me. It's going to be really great. And then tomorrow, I've actually got to check in here in about 3 minutes. But regardless of that, tonight's the greatest night. It's like Christmas. If you love March Madness, this is what it's all about right now. Starting tonight, tomorrow playing game, Wednesday night showing up, having some dinner. Yeah, getting it going, man. Tomorrow is going to be amazing. This weekend is awesome.
You could get close to 2-1 right now, plus 190 on San Diego State. Tommy, I'm with you. Hey, by the way, I don't know if you heard.
185.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but we're gonna be broadcasting live from the Win on Thursday and Friday. So if you and the boys have an opportunity to stop by and say hi, we'd love to meet you.
No, dude, for sure. I actually told him already about going and meeting Dustin on Sunday. Because anyway, but yes, absolutely, man. We are fired up, ready to go.
All right, Tommy. Thank you, buddy, and good luck to you. That's what it's all about. Seriously, we've talked about it ad nauseum. I lived in Vegas for 3 years. Dustin's lived there for many years now. This is, if you're looking to put together a girls or a boys trip, it is NCAA tournament. That's 1 seed. Way better than the Super Bowl.
Oh no.
The vibes are so different, and so the vibrations are so much higher for the tournament.
So the Super Bowl stinks out here. Don't let anyone fool you. The Super Bowl stinks in general. This is the event you come for. This is like the TVs everywhere. Sports books were built for this. But I would tell you, I do have a bit of a problem as March Madness is approaching here. I may have created a monster over the weekend. So we talked about it. I had to clean the apartment, and it was because my girlfriend was visiting. Well, she came with me while I did shows for VSiN over the weekend to the casino, and it's conference championship weekend, and all the tournaments are going on. So she's just like, by osmosis, just taking in all the basketball. And next thing you know, I'm getting hit with opinions from her left and right about who she likes, who plays hard, whose style of play she's into. Well, and then she starts betting. She's like, can I bet this? Can I bet this? And she's winning, by the way. Now she has futures bets. And I just got a text from her in the middle of this last segment, and it was, so are we betting San Diego State as a family? Now, I'm trying to start a family.
That's my girl.
I'm trying to start a family with this person, and I got her asking me if we're betting on San Diego State as a family.
Let's go.
I think I messed everything up. I've let my worlds converge.
So here's the question, because you and I have had this discussion many times. Your girlfriend is a legit sports fan.
Oh,
I won't go into details, but just know that she's a legit sports fan.
Yeah.
I've never dated a girl that even knew what a football was. So how do you like dating somebody who's amazing? She's amazing, but how do you like dating somebody that's into the same stuff that you're into around work?
So I would say one part of it that is nice is she understands when I say I have to watch a game, right? I have to have a game on because I have to know what happened. I'd say the negative part of it is shut up. The negative part of it is we're already having arguments about if our children are going to be Dodgers fans or Mets fans.
Yeah. Dodgers is the easy answer there.
I mean, if I'm going to do that and have a family and be a good father, I should probably not force them to root for the team that's ruined my entire life and let them be Dodger fans.
I just like to tell your girlfriend that the next time you hear his dumb ass say he has to watch a game, if I hear any more of this self-important crap in this industry, you don't have to watch the game.
If it's a big game, you can tell if I've watched. Ready? I watched First Take this morning. I had to do my little media roundup. Stephen A., they were debating who had a worse loss last night, the Timberwolves or the Warriors. He literally just listed off stats from the box score. It was so clear he did something else last night. It was not watching the basketball games he was discussing. And I love Stephen A. I love Stephen A.
Yeah, make sure you clean that up there. Hey, listen, I'm not saying you don't have to do your research. I'm just saying in 2025, the next day, there are many ways to get capsules of the game, not just looking at a box score. You can find, YouTube is an amazing thing. You can find shortened versions of games and understand exactly what went down.
Whose side are you on in this? Like, let me get away with something. I get away with nothing. Just trying out here
again, for me, I want you to be happy in life and sitting around and watching, Alabama basketball because you can't hang out with your girl is a stupid excuse. Or Alabama football.
Now she's going to throw this in my face.
But my crusade is against the donks in this industry. Talk with the whole because here's what people do. Sports talk hosts and guys that get into this, they use gotta watch the game as a way to flex. Because this is what I do.
That's not what I'm doing.
Pretty hard watching a game.
I just want to be on top of it. You get the emotions of the game and the swings when you're watching it live. It's not the same when you watch a replay.
I know. I'm giving you a hard time. You did send a picture of your setup at home. Your main room with the 4 TVs hanging.
Yeah.
And you were proud of yourself because you had 4 games on. And when I saw the picture, I immediately came to one conclusion. There is no way you can focus on anything when there are 4 games on simultaneously. Well, that is fact. You can talk to a therapist. They will tell you there's no such thing as multitasking.
No, the action's staggered. When one's happening here, you look at the other. You have a rotation that you follow with the games.
Fair enough.
I'm a professional.
You are. You're a host. Our buddy Stuart. Shout out to Shorty. Our buddy Stuart Durst is going to join us, betting analyst, pass the prop on YouTube. That's my guy, Monotone Football. Next, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Hey, big guy, I was just thinking about it. For those on YouTube, can we get the picture you sent me with your setup in the chat?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. We got Nia, we got Ryan as we welcome you back. Remember, vsin.com/bracket challenge. Maybe that's what it is. Go over to VSiN. You can sign up for free right now. Get into the bracket challenge. $5,000 online. Great deal. We dropped our NCAA Madness guide today, which is March Mania. Tremendous. You can sign up for all this for $9.99 for 30 days, by the way. And then what's really special is VSiN Live on YouTube. We're breaking down every single game, 60 to 90 seconds. You click a game, you get the handicap, get the hell out of there. While you're there, stop by and say hi to us. Dustin just took the picture of his setup, so those that want to jump in the chat, VSiN Live.
I don't know if I can post a picture in the chat. I don't know YouTube. I'll post it on Twitter.
Send it to Ryan. Ryan will know how to do it. Let's welcome in our buddy and our guest, Stuart Durst, betting analyst, Pass the Prop on YouTube, at Monotone Football, one of the best to do it when it comes to the props. But let's start with the viewing experience. Do you agree with Dustin's approach, which is his main room has 4 TVs hanging, and he's constantly just overstimulated? What is your approach when many games are on, Stu?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Dustin here. I got a lot of ADHD going on. I'm always walking around. I don't sit down during games. I normally pace around for like 4 hours. So I like having multiple screens. I like being able to look through a lot of things. It's good for live betting, especially if you're trying to capitalize off of things. It's not the best for actually like consuming or learning. You know, you're not like retaining as much information, but I do like the multi-cam setup. I like having as many monitors as possible, and trying to keep up with as many games as my brain can handle.
Yeah, Patrick doesn't get it. You don't need to focus on anything. It's just the constant dopamine hit. Something's happening here. Something's happening here. Something's happening. It's just I never have an excuse to be bored and not have something to be looking at.
But I do it, big guy. Like Stu just said, I'm always live betting. I always have a game I'm betting on, and that's on the iPad. And then I've got an Abraham Lincoln documentary on the main TV. But I'm always grinding. I'm 47. I gotta learn something while I'm doing it. So to be fair, were we able to throw it up in the chat? The pick. Send it over to Ryan.
I sent it to Ryan. We'll see what he can do.
VSiN Live on YouTube.
He's smarter.
Hey, let me ask you this. We were having a conversation, Stu. Last night, I'm watching the Lakers beat the Spurs, and obviously no LeBron. Austin Reeves is legitimately like, I can't say superstar, but he's entering that star category as far as scoring the ball.
Yeah, I think he belongs in the Derek White category of superstar role players, right? Where he's not quite like he's not the number one. Technically, he's the number 2 on his team right now, but a guy that's like playing at the highest possible level for the role he's given, because he's not the number 1 option on the team. But I mean, he's doing everything for them humanly possible. He's rebounding, he's passing, and obviously the scoring has kind of reached new levels this season. So it's exactly what you need when you look at a team trying to compete to win it all, right? And I think Derek White is such a good, comp, because it's what the Celtics needed to take them to the next level as well.
So in the East with Cleveland, plus 210 right now, Stu. As we get closer and closer to the playoffs, I'm becoming more and more convinced this team's legit in taking down Boston. Obviously, the Knicks are out of it. The Bucks aren't going to do it. The Cavaliers are our only hope. They're our only hope. And in the West, who can take down the Thunder? In the East, Cleveland. In the West, who can take down the Thunder?
Yeah, I mean, I think the West is almost more wide open just because there's kind of a murderous row. Like, I even think lesser teams, even less experienced ones like the Rockets, if they get hot at the right time, even like a Grizzlies kind of team, I think there's so many different teams that can present an interesting matchup problem. And also, there's still some time left in the season. We saw kind of what the Thunder look like with some injuries to Jalen Williams a little bit earlier in the season, and that, played a big part. So I don't know. I think the Thunder most likely do take care of business, but I think if you were to ask me who's more likely to get upset, especially by a lesser team, I do think it's definitely the Thunder rather than the Celtics.
Stuart, You take a look. I know you've got props in the Cleveland game tonight, but just as an aside, Milwaukee at Golden State, the Warriors are going to give Steph a blow tonight. So you saw that number flip. 2.5 Warriors, now 2.5 Bucks. When you see Steph sitting out, which he never does, do you start to look at that game to play aside?
Yeah, no, we were gonna get into the props there, but I do like the Bucks. I actually did play a little bit of Bucks -2.5. I think that's a solid number. Obviously, if you were camping out that injury news, you probably could have got it at like plus money at one point. But yeah, I mean, when you look at now like Jonathan Kuminga having to reliably be like the number 2 option, he set at 16.5 points. Like when Steph's off the court, it's such a noticeable, huge difference, even at his point in this point in his career, that yeah, I do like the Bucks a lot, especially both starters healthy. You got Giannis and you got Dame ready to go, no injuries. I think the Bucks are the right side in that one.
Me too. I'm glad you co-signed because I'm in on that one, big guy.
Yeah, I'm curious at this point in the year because as I only bet the props through, I'm not as sharp as you when it comes to find some crazy value with guys in these very obscure bets. But who are the guys that have been jumping out to you lately? Like I've been betting a lot of Trey Jones and I've been betting a lot of Kobe White and these situations where guys are out for long periods, out for the year, and teams are tanking. Like I love the Jazz when the front court rests. I'm all over Filipowski every night. Who are guys that are consistently players that you turn to night in and night out that are a little bit deeper down the board?
Yeah, no, I love Filipowski. You just said there. He's on my Mount Rushmore in the second half of the season so far, because anytime you see that Walker Kessler out notification, you know Filipowski's coming in, and that's actually going to be the case again tomorrow. So little look at. I think we'll probably both be on Filipowski the way it sounds. For me, I'm a big DC guy. I watch all the Washington Wizard games. They're in full tank mode right now.
Oh, why would you do that?
Hey, it pays dividends in the betting world. I know I get clowned on it a lot. But this is actually the best time of year to watch Wizards ball. They just started AJ Johnson for the first time last game. That's someone they traded for Kyle Kuzma and a first round pick. I'm a big fan of that guy. Real twitchy, fast point guard. I think his assist tomorrow is going to be a great look. But I love Alex Sarr. I mean, a guy that was getting clowned from a bad summer league start to the season has really turned it up recently. The aggression is through the roof. He's playing a minimum of 28 minutes a night. I think Alex Sarr is a guy that it's a little bit under the radar right now, but it's kind of just capturing as many backups as possible. Like if you're a rookie, if you're a young guy, this is going to be your chance to get those minutes. So whenever I see like the 76ers playing too, I mean, anytime Oubre or Drummond are in, I would definitely take those unders. It's the same with the Raptors, like a Jakob Poeltl. Anytime you get these veterans on teams that are playing for nothing, you should be jumping all over those unders because you can guarantee those guys aren't going to be playing heavy minutes.
Stuart, we talked about the side with Golden State tonight hosting Milwaukee, but you also have 2 player props in that matchup as well. You want to start with Buddy Hield?
Yeah, sounds good. Well, we'll start with the bigger name before we really get in the trenches here. I like Buddy Hield a lot. I think anytime he can get a solid attempt at minutes, he's going to give you a good shot for a 3-point ladder. So you can get 2.5 threes at plus money right now. You can also get 4 threes at plus 270. I think that's a very nice price because Buddy Hield, he's a guy that if he gets hot, he's going for it. If he misses his first 4 shots, he'll probably still take a couple, but he could probably get benched for the rest of the game. If he makes his first 2, Buddy Hield could see upwards of 30 minutes in this one. Obviously, Steph Curry is ruled out. What do we know the Bucks for? They play deep drop. They have Brook Lopez planted in the paint. They have Giannis. They're a fantastic paint defense, but obviously one of the negatives of planting your 2 7-footers in the paint is you're going to give up a lot of 3-point attempts, and that's what they've notoriously done. You take Steph Curry out of this lineup, who's knocking down threes? There's not really an obvious guy. Like I said, I don't love Kuminga as like a number 2 option because he's going to have to drive a lot. He uses his physicality. That's not going to work as well in this matchup. You need shooting if you want to take down the Bucks. And Buddy Hield is the guy that slots into that role. He's a reliable bench player, and Podziemski has already been put on a minutes limit. So he will be starting this game, but it looks like he's going to be restricted to around 25 minutes, which is going to open up even more opportunities. You just need 3-point shooting to beat the Bucks. And I mean, Buddy Hield is like the most obvious guy in the world when you think of who kind of fills that gap. He's no Steph Curry, but he's a guy that's consistently shot 40%, 38% on high volume for most of his career. And if he's going to play 25 minutes tonight, I think he has a great chance of cashing this plus money little 3-point ladder.
Now, you do have another player prop, in full disclosure, Patrick. I believe it's pronounced Guy Santos. He's from Brazil. Patrick wants to move to Latin America, so I think Patrick may tell you on this one. What are we going to do with Guy or Guy Santos? I don't know who he is, and it feels like the most Stuart Durst bet of all time. What's the play?
Yeah, no, Santos has been an absolute dog. And you don't have to take my word for it. When they were interviewing Steve Kerr about Jonathan Kuminga and coming back and how his minutes would be affected, he's literally out there unprompted saying, we love Kuminga, but we can't take this Santos guy out of the lineup. And that's because he's a spark plug. He's an aggressive rebounder. He's not the most polished player in the world. If you give him an open three, I'm not sure I'm really trusting him to knock it down, but what he lacks in the scoring ability, he's made up for in intensity and just aggression on the bench. And we've seen Steve Kerr reward these players a lot through his career, right? Gary Payton is another example, right? I mean, he's a guy that's really didn't earn minutes on any other team he played on. And when he got an opportunity over here, he succeeded. And Santos is a guy, when you see a coach unprompted defending role players and, arguing for why they deserve a role on the team, I think that speaks volumes to me. And when you look at Santos's game logs, only played 13 minutes in his last game. He's recorded 5 rebounds in that one. He has 5 rebounds in 5 straight games coming in. He's an absolute dog. He's very aggressive. He attacks the boards. And once again, I hate to harp on this, but in the modern NBA, rebounding is really 50% opportunity and 50% effort and hustle. And it's why it's such a hard market to cap and one that I avoid for the most part. But when you get these guys that are 110%, that are fighting for every single rebound and like above and beyond any player on the court, those are the kind of guys I want to target. And Santos knows that this is the only thing keeping him on the court, right? That hustle, that energy, those offensive rebounds that nobody's expecting, those sneaky steals on the back end. Like, he's the kind of guy that he fights for his spot in the lineup and he earns every single minute. And you take out Curry, obviously, and you have Podziemski on a minutes limit, I think he could play upwards of 20 minutes. And this is a guy that I would have for like 6 to 7 rebounds, 100% if you could guarantee 20 minutes. So consistently hitting it at 13, 15 minutes, but I think he has plenty of upside tonight with the injuries. And yeah, not a name a lot of people know, but if you watch Warriors basketball, if you're a fan, you love this guy because he's given 110% every night.
And then finally, here in Los Angeles tonight, Mr. Durst, you have Cleveland at the Clippers, and you're going to go prop with Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I mean, another great regular season game. 2 sneaky, like solid, late night games for people on the East Coast like myself right here. But yeah, I like Evan Mobley a lot. When we talked earlier about their chances at the East, and we've kind of talked about it multiple weeks in a row, Evan Mobley's been a big reason why they've kind of made that surge, because Donovan Mitchell's a great scorer. He's a guy you trust in one-on-one situations. Garland is taking that next step as a point guard, but you need that other option. And when a team has great guard defense, like the Clippers do, right, that can throw multiple fantastic guard defenders at you in any given night, you need like a big to step up. And I think Mobley at 16.5 points tonight is a great matchup. I do like the interior defense of both these two teams. It's not going to be the fastest game in the world. But when I think of like a guy like Mitchell, who I normally do like backing and supporting, he has a tough matchup here. I don't have a lot of faith that he's going to be extremely aggressive. He really hasn't been in regular season games much this season. And Mobley's the guy with the hot hand. He's looked real confident from 3 recently, which is, I think, a big part of his game that he's continuing to develop. And when you just look at the Clippers, they're going to have Zubac in kind of that deep drop. There's going to be opportunities for him to pull up all night long. If Mobley's aggressive tonight, I think he probably skies over 20 points, even in a slower pace game. So fantastic matchup, 2 good defenses. I think you see a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and I think he's going to take advantage of the size mismatch, and I think he's going to score 20 points tonight.
I'm tailing all 3. Let's do it, Stu. And last time I tailed, Stu was cashing in the first half. We saw that in the Family Bets Discord. Stuart, you're the best betting analyst. Pass the prop on YouTube. Monotone Football on Twitter. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Let's cash.
Let's cash, buddy. There goes Stuart there. So we have a developing situation with the big guy here. So for the right to play Auburn, right now, D. Swedelson, you've got St. Francis, Pennsylvania, Alabama State.
Oh, my God.
1 second. Alabama State leads by 2, 70-68. What'd you see?
Alabama just heaved it down court with 3.4 left, full court pass, Grant Hill style, back in the day. It's bobbled, tipped up, lands in the hand of an Alabama State player. He banks it in underneath the bucket with like 0.4 left. 1 second left. My God, when you see this throw, he chucks it downfield like it's a Hail Mary football pass. It's bobbled and tipped up by a couple players, lands in the hand of an Alabama State player, and he lays it in with 1 second to go. That is crazy. Now, Alabama State.
It's over, by the way. It's over. Alabama State has beaten St. Francis 70-68. I just saw the replay. It's freaking wild. Now, Alabama State takes on Auburn.
Okay, it was fun while it lasted. You got your moment. They didn't cover the number
it's
either.
Huge.
It was 3.5. Number was 3.5. So St. Francis does cover the plus 3.5 there.
Next up, we are on San Diego State as a family.
Oh, yeah.
And next up here on the program, we get to your calls. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Live betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
A Alabama State with a full court heave tie ball game. Get a bucket, 0.7 to go, winner, 70-68 over St. Francis. So Alabama State advances to take on Auburn. Good luck with that. And coming up in just a little bit, we're going to have San Diego State, North Carolina. San Diego State catching 4.5. You get plus 190, 185-ish money line for the right to play Ole Miss. I see down in the corner here on the YouTube VSiN live stream, punctuality. Of course, Mike Somich for the ladies is going to be joining us coming up at the top of the hour. A lot of big announcements with Somich. I do have another announcement. Summer is officially here, people. Because do you know what time? What? Do you know what time the sun sets today? 7:02. 7:02. That means summer is here, Dustin Swedelson.
Hey,
and
I'll
when
take
my
it.
podcast gets off the air, it's still light outside. That brings me joy.
Buddy, I just did cardio this morning, and my nipples you could see through my undershirt and my hoodie. That's how cold it is in Vegas. So it is definitely not summer here in the desert.
Well, speaking of Vegas, Tommy, the rest of the crew, we're going to be broadcasting live from the SiriusXM studios at Wynn, a casino and resort. So you can stop by, say hi. I'll buy you a beer. We'll have some fun. So make sure Thursday and Friday, VSiN Live is going to be at the Wynn at the SiriusXM studios. I mentioned Somich is coming up next. Let's get back to your calls to close out the hour. 888-623-3646 here on VSiN Live. Okay, Nia, let's go line 3 and bring in Chad in Cincinnati. Chad, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. A couple quick comments and then a question. First comment is you really got my attention when you said Jay Billis mentioned someone else other than Duke as the number 1 team in the country. Number 2,
Yeah.
Dustin absolutely nailed it last night without you. I think he got a little perplexed at first, but he killed it with the Oakland coach.
You did a great job.
And lastly, your previous guest said the Midwest region's going to have the most carnage. I think it's going to be Auburn and the South. What do you guys think about Auburn, Louisville, Creighton, our team, UC San Diego, A&M, Ole Miss, North Carolina against the family?
Listen,
Iowa
I'm right there
State,
with you.
Marquette, Michigan
Dude,
State. I feel like
Chad,
that's the bracket that's going to blow everything
I
up.
am with you. I think, and great call, Chad, all the way around. Dustin did kill it yesterday, and I think Auburn got screwed. You're the number 1 overall seed, and I think they got put in the toughest region. That's my opinion. Do what you want with it, big guy.
No,
I agree
like
with Chad.
I mean, Izzo, I would say New Mexico or Marquette could potentially be a bad matchup down the road. A&M super physical, and it's all seniors in that starting lineup. UC San Diego, we haven't shut up about. And then both Louisville and Creighton are both really talented teams with awesome head coaches. I hate that as the draw for the number 1 overall seed. It doesn't make sense.
Let's go to line 1. Let's go MAGA and bring in our buddy Hayden in D.C. What up, Hayden?
Make these phone lines great again.
Well, I'm going to go down the conspiracy theory hole with you tonight.
No way.
I think Indiana and West Virginia both getting, the shaft by the committee, and then the coach moving. And by the way, the portal opens next weekend, I should say, which is convenient. I think there's something. I think they knew. I think that committee knew what was happening behind the scenes, and they did the Indiana AD a favor. He said, "Hey, I'll take myself out if you give me the coach," and he took the West Virginia guy out and got the coach. 100%.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
And it'll all come out when the AG, the Attorney General from West Virginia, goes after the phone records, which I would do if I was looking for the conspiracy right now. I think that committee knew exactly what was about to happen this week. It all worked out way too conveniently. Think about it. If they go on a run, they can't. The portal will open up. If you make the Sweet 16, what is West Virginia the guy's gonna quit on a Sweet 16 team? They all knew this was about to
listen,
happen.
I don't hate it. I usually don't like conspiracy. Real quick before Grand Canyon, Maryland. Grand Canyon doesn't cover. Maryland's laying 10. What do you got?
I like us. I mean, 10.5's a lot. I think we're going to win. I like the minus 150 to win the region. I still want to get that ticket out of Dustin's hands. It makes me feel really nauseous, and I'm praying the dog takes Florida if we get to the Sweet 16. Go
Thanks,
Terps.
Hayden,
I love my Terps.
Go Terps. Let's go. Little conspiracy. Make the phone lines great again. Hayden, that's your boy. All right.
Hey. Maryland. I need them. That's my biggest ticket by far. And the St. John's ticket's good, but Maryland at 85-1, that's the ticket he's talking about. He's scared that I'm going to be a mush. I would be scared if I was Hayden as well.
All right, well, there you go. Confidence sky high for the big guy. Coming up next, Mike Samich joins. We got a special announcement with Samo. Kentucky Derby style. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. I can't get into my Google, so can you let them know about the bracket contest? I'll say this really quickly. We're at VSiN Live on YouTube, streaming every single night, but also over at VSiN Live, we're breaking down every single game over at VSiN, just 60, 90 seconds. You click the game, you get a handicap. It's a tremendous feature at VSiN Live. On Twitter, we got the bracket challenge going on as well, big guy.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I filled mine out today. It takes all of a couple minutes. So you sign up at VSiN.com/contest, completely free, showcase your handicapping skills. All these bracket challenges involve just picking a winner. That's for children. We are adults. We bet against the spread. We bet totals. That's overs and unders. So each round, you'll have a certain allotment that you have to make, 40 total picks over the course of 6 tournament rounds. It's 20 in the first round. So registration's open right now. Contest runs through the championship game on April 7th. Go to VSiN.com/contest, sign up, make those first round picks. You'll be locked and loaded to compete for a chance at $5,000 in cash prizes.
All right, it's time to bring in part of the family. We don't even say guest, it's just Samo. Mike Samich, VSiN host, professional bettor, Ready, Set, Bet, weekends 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find him on Twitter at SamoBomb18. Before we get to your article, which is tremendous, up at VSiN.com, a couple of things. One, you're going to hate this because I took the over Blues Predators 5.5 even money. I did get 2 from your Blues in the first period, but I know you hate the bet. But hey, I'm on a good pace here.
Look, I don't mind it. St. Louis has been filling up the nets recently. And if they are able to keep that going, maybe they can get 5 for you. We get a nice little 5-1 win. St. Louis gets their 2 points, gets closer to this playoff spot that I bet on them and personally rooting for them to get to. And you win your bet. So then everyone's happy, right, Patrick?
Yes, sir. And then coming up in about 6 minutes, you're going to be on North Carolina against San Diego State laying the 4.5. So you're going against the family here.
Look, I didn't know this was the family thing here. I've got a small bet on North Carolina. Look, these Mountain West teams, especially when they're a 10-plus seed, not been phenomenal over the last 4 or 5 years in the NCAA tournament. Now, San Diego State has been the one exception to that rule, but they were generally seeded higher when they were able to do that. I made this game 4.5, so I'm right on the current line. I'm kind of playing a little bit of the, the mind games here and saying, look, North Carolina has heard for 3 days they don't belong here. And this is not a team that lacks talent. They just haven't been able to put it all together this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of North Carolina's better efforts after all of the shenanigans that we've heard over the last couple of days about them not deserving to be in the tournament.
The motivation angle, big guy, is spot on. North Carolina doubted. Little backs up against the wall here.
Yeah, but Mike, I spin zoned it. That was my talking point yesterday, and then I thought about it all day about placing a bet. And now my thought is that entire team collectively exhaled because they thought they weren't going to make it at all, and they somehow squeaked in, and they're in this thing. So now I've spin zoned psychology and decided that it's the opposite way of they were thinking a day ago.
Well, isn't that good, though? They're playing with house money then. They get to play loose. I can make this a positive any way you want to put it, Dustin. And like I said, I'm not crazy on UNC here. This is more of an action bet for me. I wanted to have something here, and I do think the line is fair. I just think you have a slight motivational edge. And then, again, the Mountain West in the tournament just has not been very good. And that, to me, was the last kind of factor of this to just go in light on UNC.
No, totally true. Now, you generally like to dig for alternate angles when betting big events like this. And we should start with your article over at VSiN.com, which is round parlays. And how'd you approach this when digging into it?
Well, one of the things I've talked about on the show previously that you guys did together on Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown on the weekends, just take time. Take 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day just looking through your sports books because you're seeing more and more options pop up every single day around what you're able to bet in these sports. And for the first time that I can remember, you're able to parlay specific teams to make specific rounds. And you can have, an Elite 8 parlay. You could have a Sweet 16 parlay. You could actually put them together if you'd like to. So you can have X team to make the Elite 8 and X team to make the Sweet 16 and be able to kind of boost out the payoffs depending on how you expect the route to go for them. And for me, like I love betting the Final Four type things, but there is some value in some of these teams to make the Elite 8 in my mind. Specifically, Duke and Houston, I think, have very, very favorable paths. They're going to be the best offense and the best defense on the court, no matter who they play, all the way to that Elite 8 position. In my mind, that's a good spot to be able to get them at plus money. If you put Duke and you put Houston together, you can get around plus 120 right now on a couple of different books. That's to make the Elite 8. I think that's a great bet there. And if you want to get a little bit crazier, I like Michigan State's path. I like St. John's path. That's up to 16-1 for Duke, Houston, Michigan State, and St. John's, all to make the Elite 8. I think it's a phenomenal way to kind of attack some of these roads where, like, hey, do you have a ton of confidence in these coin flip games in the Elite 8 that they're going to be able to make the Final Four? Maybe not, but you can make money just being able to bet some of these teams to make the Elite 8. Or if you want a Sweet 16 parlay, you can do that as well. I like taking some bigger prices from a Sweet 16 perspective. I know, Dustin, you're not going to love this. I think Grand Canyon's price at 9-1 is a little crazy to make the Sweet 16. They're a team that had won a game last year in the tournament. They've made it 4 of the last 5 years. They have a veteran lineup that shoots free throws well and that is able to play defense. They're tall, long bodies. I think they have a shot at upsetting Maryland, and if they do, they're likely to get Colorado State in the second round, which is also a team that I think that they favorably match up against. So I put a little 9-1 bet in there on Grand Canyon to make the Sweet 16 as well.
So interesting you mentioned that because I have the ticket on 85-1 in Maryland. But how about this? Instead of hedging on Grand Canyon, you've been teaching me about financial literacy and being better about my spending and my money and my saving.
Shout to Acorns.
And yeah, by the way, if you want my link, I'll send it to you because I need a couple more to get that bonus. But instead of hedging on Grand Canyon against my 85-1 Maryland ticket, why don't I just buy some Grand Canyon University stock because they trade on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol LOPE? Why don't I just buy stock in Grand Canyon University as a hedge?
Well, I don't think that's a terrible idea. But before you do that, Dustin, rewind 365 days. When they won in round one, what did it do to the stock last year?
I don't know. That's why you're here.
So go check that out. You can go back. You can pull back a year, 3 years, whatever it is. Look at what that happened to the stock last year when they won in round one. If it popped, I love that idea because if they lose, you still have a valuable asset in the stock. And if they win and it goes up, you're able to make some money off of it.
Let's look. I'll go back. I'm in April. Since April, it's done nothing but really go up, to be fair.
Well, everybody loves the Lopes.
But everybody loves the Lopes. You also were digging and you found no bets. Can you explain to the audience what that means as far as the no bets?
Yeah, this is, I've seen no's for a team, specifically one seeds to make the Final Four that some books will offer. If you go into Caesars right now, they are offering no's on every single team in the tournament. That's reasonable. So it's the 15, 16s. They're not offering this. But on most teams that you would have a future bet on, they're offering no's to make the Elite Eight, to make the Sweet 16. And so, when you're Dustin and you've got some of these tickets at 80-1, 300-1, whatever it is, you can actually hedge for multiple games by taking that team on the no. So let's say you want to take Maryland to not make the Sweet 16. Well, you can lay minus 120 right now for Maryland to not make the Sweet 16 so you're only risking 1 unit to break even on that bet. And then you're able to hedge from there because they're going to be in the dog every single game after that. So it's a great way to hedge to X point in the tournament if you do have some of these futures that you're worried they might not be able to win at all, but you want to make sure you're able to profit the ticket.
Yeah, see, this is what Samich does. He finds these creative angles. The best one was a year ago, was discovering the bet no to bat in the 9th inning on some of these heavy favorites in baseball. I'm curious. I don't know if you know this. You may not, but Major League Baseball season started at 3 o'clock in the morning our time. Did you have any action in the Dodgers win over the Cubs?
I did not have any action in that one. I did play some first to 10 wins. I played the Rays. I think they were at 60-1, 50-1, somewhere in that range. So I'll be rooting for the Cubs tonight. I don't want the Dodgers to get out to a 2-0 lead on that front, but no action in that game, although that would have been a great one to have Dodgers not bat in the bottom of the ninth there, although I think they were the road team last night. They're the home team tonight.
What else stood out? Mike Samich, of course, part of the family here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. What else, as far as the bracket, stood out? We can report that Alabama State did beat St. Francis. A great game. Came right down to the final seconds tonight, so they'll take on Auburn. You've got North Carolina and San Diego State about to tip for the right to take on Ole Miss, who you do like to reach the Sweet 16 at plus 220 in the article over at VSiN.com. But anything else? Obviously, North Carolina getting into the dance, West Virginia being excluded. What else stood out as far as the bracket?
I thought there were a couple things that jumped out to me. First off, I think Duke's path is very, very easy. A lot of people have already talked about this, but when you go through their bracket, I mean, it's an Arizona team in the 4 seed that doesn't like to defend. You've got Wisconsin, a 3 seed that goes through these scoring droughts. You've got Alabama, a 2 seed, also doesn't like to defend. So you're going to have the best offense and defense on the court against any of the top seeds in that region for Duke. It really comes down to Cooper Flagg. Is he going to be healthy? He could have gone based on the reports in the ACC tournament had it been the NCAA tournament. So I love the draw for Duke. I like the idea of playing them to make the Final Four and parlaying them to make the Elite Eight. So like I mentioned earlier, I think that the wide open region here is the West, which is crazy to say because Florida's in there and everyone's all over Florida's jock and how awesome they've been. I agree with them. I think Florida's been great. You know who else has been great? St. John's. UConn also very good as an 8 seed in that bracket. Colorado State, Maryland, Grand Canyon, I all think can make runs. You've got Missouri, Duke. Those are Missouri and Drake. Those are two very good teams. And Texas Tech is the 3. Another team I could see making a run to the Final Four. That bracket, if you do have some of this variance hit Florida and St. John's, is absolutely wide open for a bigger seed to be able to make a run to the Final Four.
Oh, it's a coaching murderer's row. I mean, the national championships, the up-and-comers who are great designers and tacticians, It is just an absolutely brutal region. So Drake's in that region. That's a trendy play. There's some others on the board. The one that Patrick and I are obsessed with is San Diego, UC San Diego, taking on Michigan with their turnover issues, Mike. When it comes to betting, and I'll bring this up with everyone just because I like to be contrarian. I want to be the smartest person in the room. It's a major ego thing. I talked to my therapist, Robin, about it at 11 a.m. on Wednesdays. I'll be with her tomorrow. But I love San Diego, and this is one spot where I don't care that everyone else is also in on it. What do you think of the matchup between UC San Diego and Michigan?
It is funny because the world is on UC San Diego. I don't think I've seen a single person pick Michigan in this game. It's one of the most bet spreads from both a ticket count and a financial count at almost every major sports book in the U.S. right now. Look, if UC San Diego was catching like 5, I would be all over this. I think obviously everyone would be all over this, right? The 2.5 number, we're getting a little to the point where it's like, are we sure that Michigan can't at least play a little bit against these Titans? This is a team that I liked in the Big West final. They were able to beat UC San Diego in that game, or I'm sorry, UC Irvine in that game, who's also a very good basketball team. They were one of those, maybe this is a 2-bid conference, ended up not being a 2-bid conference. Look, UC San Diego's live. I'm just not all that interested at the current price that they're being listed at. So this is one where if I'm playing a bracket challenge, I'm playing UC San Diego. If I'm playing something like the VSiN tournament challenge, which I did play, and you're picking 20 games, this one's making the slate because it's hard to pick 20 totals or sides in a 2-day period. Am I personally going to invest in it with my own money? Probably not. I think this one's run a little bit too far. And again, Michigan's hearing all this. Like we'd always talk about how you have this bulletin board material. Michigan is hearing everyone pick against them on every single show. It's a motivational factor for them. It's a little bit too trendy for me to go big on the game.
So we saw DeVries use Drake, flipped it to West Virginia, flipped 1 year at West Virginia to Indiana. Huge job. McCollum, who is everybody's darling right now, may flip 1 season at Drake to Iowa, where he's from, and Drake, Missouri is being discussed a lot as well. Missouri is laying 6.5. These are completely disparate styles, right? Drake wants to go slower than anybody in the country, and Missouri wants to go with their efficient offense. This is a fascinating matchup.
It really is. And we always talk about it. Styles make fights, Patrick. And so if I'm going to assume that one of these can really force their will on the other team, I think it's Drake that's able to force that will. I think Missouri wins, but I think they win a very close game, and I think this one goes under. So I played a Drake plus the 6.5, and I played under the total as well in this game. I believe it was 135, 136, somewhere in that range. This is just a game that I think Drake dictates the style, and if they do that, it's going to be a close game, and it's going to go under. And when you just watch Drake play, they don't get sped up. And if Missouri can't speed Drake up, then it's going to be a long day for Missouri. Now, are they going to lose? I think it's going to be close, right? But I would like the 6.5, and I like the under.
All right, I'll follow that theme of the opposite styles. We've got VCU taking on BYU up in the East. BYU's laying 2.5. Totals 146.5. Again, it feels like a lot of people are on VCU. BYU with all the 3-point shooting, Mike. What do you think of the matchup?
This is another one where I played it in the challenge. I played BYU in the challenge. I probably am not going to play it with cash on this one. VCU and what they're able to do turning teams over, I think is impressive. But BYU, very good ball handling team. Like I don't see them necessarily falling into it. They should be able to get the looks they want from 3. It's whether or not they're going to be able to hit them. And one of my big concerns, a reason why I'm not as high in Alabama as some other people are for this year's tournament, I don't love these teams that are 100% reliant on shooting the 3 well to go from round to round, because it's just hard to go into a gym that's foreign to you, to go into a neutral site, not have the home crowd, and all of a sudden you've got to knock down those 3s consistently. So I like BYU in the game. I played them in the tournament challenge over at VSiN.com, but it's not one I'm going to bet on.
Mike Somich joining us. We can circle back to the tournament. We've got still about 4 minutes until tip, with North Carolina and San Diego State. North Carolina laying 4.5. You believe in the motivation angle from Somich, or you believe in the opposite of motivation angle from Dustin, which always leads me to say this is a stupid job. If you can easily flip an argument and pretend that you're into it. Anyway, hockey. Hockey, I got a couple of things. On Sunday, your boy was digging through the hockey board, and I look up and I'm like, hold up. The Utah Hockey Club's at Vancouver. I know that your boy Aaron Halterman has been jocking Vancouver lately. Vancouver was getting like plus 115 at home. And I'm like, something is so fishy about that number. Obviously, Utah goes on to win it. And there you have it. But the Canucks are playing tonight, hosting a much better Jets team. Jets are laying a solid price on the road.
Yeah, Jets are laying a big number on the road. I wanted to get to a first period total in this game. I looked through everything. I just couldn't. The Jets, one of the few teams that are actually negative ROI on both the over and the under first period totals because they've run so right around that even mark and you're losing money on the juice. Vancouver doesn't really jump out on either side from a first period total either when you're looking at them as a home team. I do think there is a high likelihood this is a tie game after the first period. Right now, you can get plus 165 for the first period to be tied. If you want to go 0-0, that's plus 320. If you want to go 1-1, that's plus 550. I like the tie in this one. I think you're going to see a Vancouver team try and play tight. We know that Winnipeg can stop the puck with Hellebuck and net there. Vancouver has struggled to score a little bit more. I wanted to play Winnipeg minus the half goal first period, but they've just not been very good on the road in the first period. So I ended up betting a tie here in the first period. So hoping for a 0-0, 1-1, catching plus 165 for those two teams to be tied after the first.
Big guy, I have to say this quickly. The down in Nashville, the scoring has come to a screeching halt.
Oh, no.
10 minutes to play. The Blues, Samich's Blues, lead 2-0.
Hey, Samich, I saw someone post in the Discord about your Blues, man. Am I jumping aboard?
Yeah, I think you should. I think the number's phenomenal right now. There's a 4-team race out in the West right now for that final playoff spot. I think it comes down to Vancouver and St. Louis. If you look at St. Louis's remaining schedule, it is very easy. They have the weakest strength of schedule coming home. Now, the big difference is that they're giving up a game in hand. So they played one more hockey game than the main teams that they are competing against. I think they're the best team. And if they take care of business, they have a very good chance of putting up the most points of that foursome. It's Vancouver, it's Utah, it's Calgary, it's St. Louis. Right now, you get as high as plus 255 for them to make the playoffs. We'll see how much that changes after tonight with Vancouver at home against Winnipeg and St. Louis looking like they're going to beat Nashville. By the way, they played Nashville 3 times, their next 6. Nashville's not very good. St. Louis should be able to go on a run here. They do have one game left against these teams. That's Vancouver. That's at home. I think St. Louis has a very good shot at making the playoffs right now. You can catch plus 200 or more on them before tonight's games. We'll see what happens after tonight's games. But I do think St. Louis to make the playoffs and get that last seed in the West, a pretty good bet.
Outside, hockey-wise, I'll ask the same question I asked about the tournament, just like big picture, anything standing out. I know Ottawa's been on a heater. Carolina's been on a bit of a heater. Anything else, Samo, stand out?
It's going to be a fun playoffs. I think that really jumps out more than anything else. Like we have got 4 or 5 teams in the East, 4 or 5 teams in the West that are all very good. And that's before you have one of these teams that jump up and surprise like St. Louis. I mean, I've been talking about the Avs at 14-1, 12-1. They're sitting at 10-1. I don't think they're the 4th best team in hockey. I think they should be a higher or a shorter price than that. So I would still be Avs at 10-1 to win the cup right now if I was taking anybody. I don't believe in the Carolina team. I think that they kind of needed Rantanen as an additional scorer, especially in the playoffs. It's something that they've struggled with. So I'm out on Carolina, but I do think Colorado has a pretty good shot here to hoist the cup.
How about the NBA? What are we doing with the late night game? Cavs at the Clippers. Cleveland laying 3 on the road. Total's 232. Cleveland loves to go over the total. What's the play here?
Yeah, they do like going over the total. They also like winning basketball games. They're 56-11 on the season, 26-6 away from home. This game opened at 4.5. It got down to 2.5 as of about an hour ago when I texted you guys. I put in a little Cavs minus 2.5 tonight, taking on the Clippers. This is a bounce back game for them. They lost against the Magic. A lot of times with these very good teams in the NBA, you'll see those hiccups and then you see the response. Tonight, I expect the response from a Cavs team that is just more talented than the team that they're facing in the Los Angeles Clippers. So I laid 2.5 with the Cavs about an hour ago.
Another one, boys. I say don't overthink this one. Steph, those on-off numbers, when Steph doesn't play, now it's a little bit better with Butler, but you take Steph away from the Warriors. Giannis has to go in there and win a basketball game. And Samich, they're just laying 2.5 with Steph getting a blow tonight. I like Cleveland, and I like the Bucks tonight.
I looked at that game, and I kind of the Star Wars meme. It's a trap. Like I'm shocked it's sitting at 2.5. Like it felt like this should have moved to 4.5 or 5.5 without Steph. I don't really have a good feel on this Warriors team with Butler and without Steph, just because it's so new and it like you're getting a very different version of Jimmy Butler than you got at any point earlier in the season. And even in some of the regular season games when he was good with the Heat, you're getting a different version of him. He is okay with being a role player on this team. Now tonight he kind of takes a step forward. He can't be a role player. He's got to be the guy. I don't know what that looks like for this Golden State Warriors team. And because of that, I decided not to get on the game. But if you gave me 100 Patrick bucks, I'd be putting him on the Bucks here minus the 2.5.
Patrick bucks they go very quickly. I got someone who has spent his money in the past betting. I've lost it very quickly. I would warn you of that. I'm concerned though, as a Warriors backer, someone has a future on them, Mike. I feel like they should rest Curry for a couple nights. He should take like a week off. They should give him the Dennis Rodman treatment. Send him to Vegas. Send him to a bed and breakfast. I don't care. Send him somewhere because you need that guy at full strength for the postseason.
Yeah, the Kerr, he's getting a little tired after the last game was a frustrating thing. My big problem with that is like, you kind of want the 6, don't you? Like right now, that means that you get the Nuggets, and it looks like it'd either be the Nuggets or the Rockets. The Lakers kind of falling off. I don't really want to be in the play-in game. That's what I would like to avoid, and so it's hard to give him time off when you have such a really tight grouping down there with Golden State, Minnesota, and the Clippers all within a game of each other. Minnesota, by the way, I think there's worse teams to bet to win the title right now. If you want a flyer on somebody, I think the Timberwolves are a decent price and playing their best basketball this season.
Yeah, Randall's been better.
Wow. What'd you say?
Julius Randle's been playing a lot better since he came back from injury of late. So that's been a bit of a difference for them.
I just know I was watching My Thunder on Sunday night.
Oh boy.
They went to Milwaukee. Listen, this all started because I watched one Thunder game. So I'm just being honest, people. And I'm like, this team is great. All I needed. That's the way my brain, you give me one game, I sit there, I focus. I'm not texting Shorty. I'm just focusing. And I can tell you, and they are great. Help defense. SGA is a superstar, one of the greats. They went to Milwaukee and just spanked that ass. Milwaukee, you know what? I take back my Milwaukee bet. They stink.
That's the problem. You're betting on Doc Rivers. Like it's all gone wrong.
They are inconsistent. Like this is not what we expected from the Bucks. We thought that they would be a good team throughout the entire regular season. They just aren't. Like they're kind of middling, and they show up sometimes. And you see this team that like you think could compete for the East, and then they show up, and you're like, are they a playoff team? Like what's going on here?
No. They should be like one of the 3 best teams in the East, and they stink.
Yeah, they're confounding. They are confounding. All right, so it's March 18, and that means we are getting closer. I told you, Samich, the sun's setting here in California at 7:02. It's literally lit. But we have, and kind of how we met, our passion, horse racing. You're one of the better horse handicappers on the planet, if I'm being honest. And we've got something pretty cool coming up on VSiN, and that is you and Aaron Halterman, RacingDudes.com. You've got a Derby show coming up. Can you explain exactly what is happening and how the audience can catch it?
Yeah, I could not be more excited to be able to do this with Aaron, someone who I've worked with for a long time, but the two of us never really gotten our own show. And so to be able to do it here on VSiN and be able to take you guys all the way up to Kentucky Derby every single Friday is going to be phenomenal. So we'll be live right here on YouTube, YouTube.com/@VSiN Live, or just search VSiN on YouTube. You'll pull up the channel. Make sure you subscribe to it. It'll notify you when we pop up every single Friday. We'll be live for 1 hour talking about the Kentucky Derby prep races that are coming up that weekend. We'll have our top 5 for the Kentucky Derby heading into that weekend, and we'll talk about major stakes on the card as well. So it'll be everything about horse racing. It'll be a 1 hour show, essentially 45 minutes, I should say, that will then re-air on VSiN proper and channel 158 on Saturday mornings as well. It looks like we're going to be 11:30 p.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern this Friday right here on YouTube's VSiN channel. And then following that, the plan is to be noon Pacific, 3 Eastern every single Friday, talking everything Kentucky Derby. Excited for some of the guests that we're lining up once the Derby preps end, because look, the Derby, it never stops. It's amazing how this has become just an organism that just consistently ebbs and flows. Even after that 2 weeks leading up to the race, you've got some very, very interesting news that comes out that changes the prices and it kind of affects how you're handicapping the race. Also excited to announce that we're going to be live on both Friday and Saturday, Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby Day, right here on the YouTube /VSiN page. So make sure you check it out. Make sure you subscribe and join us on Friday. Looking forward to interacting with the chat throughout the show and have a good time talking the ponies with a good friend, Aaron Halterman.
Yeah, it's important. Couple things. One, if I'm searching content at VSiN, it's going to be Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman talking the ponies. And it's very simple. You go to VSiN Live on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit the button for the noties so you know when the boys are coming up. But again, going to go live to air on VSiN Live, YouTube, and then replayed on VSiN proper. Couldn't be more excited about it. And the good thing here, Dustin and Somich in particular, is this year, the Kentucky Derby, it seems like it's going to be a great field.
Oh, it is a loaded crop. I mean, I made this comment about 2 weeks ago. I would take 6 horses right now in this crop over anyone in last year's field. I mean, you've got some monsters out west with Journalism and Barnes and Citizen Bull. The Sovereignty winning the Florida Derby, I thought was phenomenal. I wouldn't sell River Tame short, who ran second in that race. And we haven't even hit the 100-point props yet. We've had horses like Cornucopian who have yet to run in a major stakes race. Grande yet to run in a major stakes race. So it's only going to pick up steam as we get closer and closer to the first Saturday in May.
So a quick update. We do have a tied score very early in this first 4 matchup, North Carolina, San Diego State. Aztecs at the line shoot free throws to take the lead. I have not been watching a lot of San Diego State basketball. I forgot about how ugly it is to watch them play offense. This is not fun when you bet on a team that has no idea what to do when they have the basketball.
Yeah, they're one of those.
You're so far. You got 4 TVs. You're like an hour behind. I got 10-6 North Carolina leading 15 minutes.
10-6. I don't know what's going on there.
YouTube TV strikes again.
Oh,
I got YouTube TV.
Hold on,
He's got the donk setup with the 12 TVs.
Did you take the filter off of it that kills the delay?
No.
Oh, I got.
You're literally like 12 minutes behind.
Well, okay. So timeout. Here's the problem with the 4 TVs. They all have 3 of them have the same remote. And sometimes when I go to put one on the other one, it will pause one. Then I have to hit play again. Then it'll pause another one. I have to hit play again. So sometimes, like, they're all on different points in the game right now, if I'm being transparent.
Solid setup.
First world problems.
Yeah.
Solid setup with the artwork and the background. I believe his artwork is Rocky.
It's Rocky punching Drago.
And then, of course, Jeremy Shockey
we have it right here
behind him.
Here's the setup.
What do we have the setup? Oh, yeah, that is good job, Ryan. So Dustin took
That's my view. That's my view.
Look at the view. He's 40. He's got the 4 TV. Now that is the main room. Those of you on VSiN Live on YouTube following along, you can see Dustin's setup right now. That's the main room. That's not like the bro room or whatever they call the
man cave.
Man cave. That's literally just like, hey, welcome to the crib.
Yeah, you walk in the house. That's what it looks like.
That's what I love about you, Dustin. You've got a 2-bedroom place, and yet you walk in, and this is your living room, just with all of this setup.
If I use the other bedroom, where would I store like all of my Amazon boxes that I refuse to throw out on time?
Wait, what? You refuse to throw out boxes?
Yeah, like I'm just like, I'll just throw it in the other room, and I just like undo them, and I just have boxes for no reason.
Are you a hoarder?
No, I'm just lazy, and I live on the 3rd floor, and I have to walk down 3 flights of stairs with all the stuff in order to throw it out.
You gotta wheel the recycling bin under your window and just start throwing them out the window.
Drop it over the side.
It is Vegas.
I once moved out of an apartment that way. I had a couch I had to get rid of. I was like, what are we gonna do with it? We're throwing it out anyway. Threw it over the balcony.
Bad boy. Look at him. Somich, what can we do to convince you to join me and the big guy at the Win Sirius XM Studios? They're gorgeous Thursday and Friday. I know you've been traveling a lot, but we'd love to see you.
I would love to be there this weekend. I'm actually heading out of the country on Sunday. And so since we're broadcasting Saturday and Sunday, I'll be doing that here from the home. And then I will be taking off to Costa Rica for a week. So going down there to the hub of illegal sports betting, if you will.
Hold on, Patrick, for a week. Patrick needs a report. He's moving to either Central or South America. He needs to know what Costa Rica is like potentially for him to not just move to, but maybe find his soulmate.
I think he has a phenomenal shot in Costa Rica, knowing the flavor that Patrick's looking for. I think he'd have a good chance of finding the soulmate
spicy.
there.
Have you been to Costa Rica before? I hear it's just incredible.
I have not. I actually almost moved to Costa Rica when I was in my early 20s because there was Black Friday in the poker world where all your funds got essentially frozen, and Costa Rica was the place to move to. So there was a group of like 10 of us that were all like very, very close to buying a house in Costa Rica and just living down there and playing poker. Unfortunately, that did not pan out. Because a couple of my people couldn't get their money out of said sites for a while, and that fell through. But never been. Excited to go. Excited to check it out. I haven't been out of the country in a while, so excited to kind of experience a new country.
Beautiful. Dustin's TV so far behind. He's watching San Diego State in the Mountain West Conference tournament.
I'm still watching the Alabama State win. What are you talking about?
I can tell you that North Carolina is indeed up 10-6 with 15 to play. So we'll keep you updated there. Samo, great job. You and the family travel safely. You've got shows this weekend, Ready, Set, Bet, 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time at SamoBomb18. Super exciting news with the Derby shows. Remember, going to go live to air on YouTube at VSiN Live, so make sure you head over there right now. Again, if you are new to horse racing or a veteran horse race player, Samich and Halterman, it doesn't get any better than that. So subscribe, hit the notifications, hit the thumbs up, VSiN Live on YouTube. And, by the way, make sure you check out the article as far as parlaying in the tournament over at VSiN.com. That was tremendous, Samich. You know what? You're a gifted writer, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. Every now and then we come up with a good idea here or there. And I love the fact that we got all of these books that give you so many new outs every single time one of these things comes up. And having those with the tournament, absolutely phenomenal. By the way, I was in New York last weekend. Oh my God. Living in New York would be incredible as a sports bettor. They give you like boosts every single day on parlays and all this stuff. Like, it is unbelievable how aggressive they are in the market to try to get your money. And it makes it so nice as a bettor because you have all these different options and everything is boosted if you're smart about playing it 3 or 4 different places. Yeah,
you're betting in the future that when you come to Vegas, you're further behind times than my TVs are right now, and they're in black and white.
Hey, what's the Derby show called, by the way?
VSiN at the Track, Road to the Kentucky Derby. It's going to be VSiN at the Track in perpetuity, and then we'll just change the back half of that as we go forward. As you know, our boy Steve Cohen loves the horse racing. He's already trying to spin this into the at the Track, Road to the Preakness, and then the Belmont, and then Saratoga. So if we get the audience, we'll keep this thing going for a while.
It's a no-brainer. Samich, appreciate the time. Travel safely. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, good luck this weekend, boys. Hope you have a good one.
You too. Your Blues stink, by the way. Still 2-0 with a buck.
They're winning.
The second. No, they're not winning. That's not a win. A win would be 6 goals. Pull yourself together. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, VSiN Live YouTube, of course, those streaming. We welcome you. And remember, you can stream and go over to our YouTube page and check out every single matchup in the tournament. 60 to 90-second capsules let you know exactly which way to go. Give it a subscription and hit the notifications. Okay, we're back. Just quickly update you, North Carolina, San Diego State, first four. Remember, this is for an opportunity to play Ole Miss as we advance. Right now, North Carolina up 16-11 early on. About, let's see, big guy. Yeah, I'm sure you've got the full game to play.
Well, I've got I've got 3 different commercials playing. I have an interview with Brian Dutcher happening, and I have them just barely going to a timeout right now. So I literally have 4 different versions of this game on.
Well, I'm going to help you focus on the Dutcher TV because that's where I'm at, and I'm up to speed. 12-17 to play. North Carolina leads San Diego State 16-11. It's time for a little this or that. Alabama State advanced earlier today over St. Francis to take on Auburn. A great game to get the tournament started. All right, big guy, let's go.
Okay, so this or that. It's pretty self-explanatory, but for those of you who are not following,
yes, the Preds got a goal with 1 second to go in the second period.
So what do we need
Literally
now?
19. They scored at 19:59. The last second of the period, 4 goals going into the third. 1 second.
Do you have? You have over 5.5?
Over 5.5.
Ooh.
2 G's. No, not $2,000. No. That's not what I meant. 2 goals in the third.
Got it. Reading the box score like Stephen A. did. Okay,
let me clean that up a little bit.
This or that.
Business out there.
I throw a question at you. You have 2 options. That's all you can choose from here. Well, I guess one has 4 options, but whatever. Who do you trust more in the month of March? Rick Pitino or Tom Izzo?
So this is a fascinating question because it's almost the Spider-Man meme of them pointing at each other. Because if you think about it, it's like neither team's they're going to out-defend you and they're going to out-rebound you. I think schematically, I don't know. Patino's gone up and down in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was terrible with Boston. That is a great question. If life on the line, Pitino, Izzo coaching one game, I think I'd have to take Pitino as much as I love
really? See,
and that hurts my heart to say it.
So I thought you were going to go Izzo because even in his down years, if he gets a shot, if you give him like a little bit of daylight to get into a tournament, to make a run in the Big Ten even, he's going to do it. Whereas Pitino, there were years where we didn't really hear from him. And now I will give him credit, like with Iona, like players that weren't that great, able to coach him up. I think that the big thing that stands out between two of them, the 2 of them that's similar, is they recruit the same kind of players. They just want players that they can coach up, that they can be a hard ass and ride them. And the player knows it's in their best interest is at the heart of the coach. So that's one thing I like about both of them. I swore you were going to go Izzo.
It's literally just a toss up. What I think the coolest thing about this Michigan State team. So 25 years ago, Jason Richardson was a freshman on the 2000 Michigan State team. And this year, arguably their best player, Jace Richardson, is playing for Izzo now. That's a great story.
And all the reports is like Richardson's like the nicest dad. He doesn't get involved. He lets it. He trusts Izzo. He trusts him with his
played for
life.
Izzo.
Yeah, he trusts him with his life.
Izzo. Yep,
I love that.
100% right. I'm going to call that a wash. I like the question, but I can't pick one.
It's hard. That's why I asked it. It was a hard one. I almost had it. Who do you trust more, Rick? I was going to have Bruce Pearl or someone else, but I knew you would just choose whoever the other one is, even if it was a coach you never heard of.
Yeah, I don't love Pearl in game. I like Pearl's preparation. I like his team's approach.
Yeah,
mentally to the game. I don't love him in game.
Final 2 minutes concerns. I get that. Okay, every year in the NCAA tournament, a 12 upsets a 5, seemingly. So the question is, which 12 is most live to upset a 5? Is it San Diego over Michigan, Liberty over Oregon, or Colorado State over Memphis, or McNeese over Clemson?
Colorado State over Memphis. Colorado State is on an effing heater. They've won like 9 straight. They just won their conference tournament. The question about do you believe in momentum in sports? This is a no-brainer. I'll get esoteric on that ass. I do believe in momentum, and Colorado State is bringing all of it into the tournament.
Yeah.
By the way, Memphis is playing well too. I think
they
won
are
6 straight.
They are, but Memphis has an injury. They have a key injury to a guy who contributes a lot offensively. Colorado State is Nick Clifford, who's probably going to be a pro. He's been carrying them. And oh, by the way, all this talk about coaches up for jobs, Nico Medved, the coach of Colorado State, he's done an incredible job there. Everyone's really high on him. He's apparently the favorite for the Minnesota job because he went there and he's from there originally.
Yeah,
that would be a big loss for Colorado State in the Mountain West because this dude can coach.
I heard that too, Donkey Kong. It's a good job by you. What else?
Next one, this or that here. In the NCAA tournament, what matters more when backing a team with bets? 3-point shooting or defense?
In today's age, man, that's a tough one. I would rely on defense more because it's something that you can consistently provide. We've seen Alabama get bounced. We've seen teams that are too heavily reliant on the 3-point shot get bounced. See, somebody like Alabama and what Nate Oates is like, I either want a layup, I want a 3-pointer, or I want a free throw. But here's the thing. We all hate on it, and we're like, oh, they take too many threes. But then when we see somebody take an 18-foot 2-pointer, you're like, that's the dumbest shot in the world. Just back up a little bit and get an extra point. Why are you taking that shot? So some teams, like Alabama is the Boston Celtics. They're just pointing at each other because Boston will take 25 in a quarter. I'll say defense just because it's more dependable.
Yeah, especially in the tournament where you're playing so many games in so few days, there's the attrition involved.
Yeah.
At least with defense, like you know that you can rely on that. Okay, next one here when it comes to this or that. We'll get back to the college hoops. Let's transition to some other stuff. When you're on an airplane, should you recline your seat or should you sit straight up the entire trip?
Well, it's a pretty simple question to answer. Did you have good or bad parents? Because if you had trifling parents, you're going to recline because you don't have consideration for other human beings. If you had good parents, you're going to sit passive-aggressively straight up and be uncomfortable the whole entire time, yet you're making the people behind you happy. And if you're also, and this is for idiots like me that have long hair or women or whoever has long hair, if you are leaning back and your hair is hanging over the seat, you're a serial killer.
Now, what about
let's throw in there as well, if you're taking your shoes off on an airplane, kill yourself.
Okay, maybe we went a little far there. But what I'd say is, then why do they have the feature on the chair for you to be able to lean it back?
The discourteous people designed it. I don't know what to say. Are you leaning? Are you leaning back like Fat Joe?
Are you kidding me? I already get so many side eyes on a plane, especially when I fly Southwest, where like you board first and then people are walking by. You can guarantee sitting next to my big body, I am the last person to have a partner sit next to me. The last thing I'm going to do is annoy the other people around me on the plane by putting my seat all the way back.
Well, because if you lean back, there's going to be an extra lane in there. It's going to be
yeah. Well, that chair might come all the way down.
Put it this way, and I don't mean to disparage him, but the type of person that leans back, Jacob.
Oh,
do you want to be like Jacob? No. I love you, Jacob, but he wouldn't even conceptualize why he wouldn't lean back.
No, in fact, he would look his eyes straight back in the lap of the person behind him and have a conversation with that stranger.
Yeah.
By the way, that's another psychotic thing. People having conversations with strangers on airplanes, you have to put AirPods in even if you're not listening to someone. You cannot do that.
Listen, Jacob, one of our producers back in New York City, he's one of the nicest kids ever, but he's literally and happy birthday to Jacob. He's walking around today with a pin that says, "Today is my birthday." You don't think he's leaning his seat back on an airplane with that entitlement?
I'm so blown away by him wearing that pin. I'm talking to my therapist about it tomorrow. It's messing me up.
What a donk. All right, that's good stuff. This or that, when we return here at VSiN Live, we're going to close some tabs. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
4 minutes.
Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. a show. You see what I did there? Yeah. By finishing all of the conversations we touched on today. This is Closing Tabs.
All right, we got a boat race in the first four. North Carolina waxing San Diego State's ass. 29-13, 8 minutes to play in the first. So we'll keep you updated there. Alabama State advances to take on Auburn earlier today as the tournament officially underway. San Diego State hasn't scored in like 3 minutes. Good team. Bad bet for the family.
I don't love betting them in a spot where now they have to actually score points from behind. That is not what they are built to do.
Yeah, they just turned the ball over. San Diego State, you're right. It's not a team that you want coming from behind. So let's get to closing tabs. Before we do, a couple of things. One, we're super excited because we dropped March Mania, the guide over at VSiN.com for the NCAA tournament. It's awesome. You can sign up for 30 days right now for $9.99. And then something that's completely free, Dustin, is the bracket challenge.
VSiN.com/contest. Couldn't be easier to get to. It's pretty awesome. $5,000 in cash prizes available to you. Showcase your handicapping skills. Instead of just picking the winners in a normal bracket pool, what we have here at VSiN is a contest where you showcase how you bet on these games. You can go total, you can go side, all the odds via Circa Sports. So what you'll do is you'll make 40 picks against the spread or on totals over the course of 6 rounds of the NCAA tournament. In this opening round, 20 bets. So you have to come up with 20 plays when it comes to all of the first round games. Registration's open. Contest runs through the championship game on April 7th. And again, it's $5,000 in cash prizes up for grabs. Sign up for and review the rules at VSiN.com/contest.
Yeah, it's free. You go to VSiN.com/contest. It's completely free and 5G's on the line. There would be no reason. It's literally just throwing away an opportunity to win a ton of cash. Let's get to closing tabs.
Okay, so I brought up my girlfriend visited over the weekend. And there was one story that I have yet to tell you about because I probably botched this, you would say. She was asked to be on a big panel of people, like 2 hours long on Zoom. And we've established that she is way more accomplished than me, and the people on this are in her field and more accomplished than her. They're important, they're educated, and she's giving advice to people in the industry. She did it from my house. So I thought, you know what? I'll be a good boyfriend. She hasn't eaten yet. I'm going to make us a big breakfast. That way, when she gets done, we'll eat right after. So I'm making eggs. I'm making bacon, toast. I'm cutting vegetables to make cool egg sandwiches, slicing up some fruit. Just as she signs into the Zoom, I take the bacon out of the air fryer. The word hi comes out of her mouth, and you just hear beep, beep. My smoke detector's going on.
Smoke alarm. Smoke alarm went off, donk.
Even worse. The entire apartment's now filled with smoke, and she's on video on this panel. Job. She goes and mutes herself and says, and she's angry. She goes, "You are never allowed to cook when I'm working ever again." Here's the problem. She didn't mute herself. She turned her.
Oh, so she's yelling at you, and her workers are seeing a side of her that they haven't seen before. They're seeing an angry shorty.
It's not even her workers. It's just like really accomplished people within her industry from across different companies. Yeah. And she's being asked to be an expert and speak on it. She turned her speakers off. She never muted it. Everyone heard her yell at me, and there's just smoke billowing throughout the room around her.
You botched it.
I might have sabotaged her entire career.
To be fair, she botched it too because she pulled that dude at CNN, although she wasn't masturbating.
Basically.
but she said some stuff on it. But yeah, you botched that. By the way, the Warriors are getting bet. This is down to 1.5. So I don't know what's going on there. And the Clippers are being bet hosting the Cavs. That was 3.5. It's down to 2.5.
Okay, I have a bet on that one. I did go James Harden over 22.5 points because Cleveland's pretty bad at defending point guards, and they're an over team, so more buckets available. But I would warn anyone, I am 0 for 3 on the day when it comes to NBA player props, so I would warn you.
Well, that means you're a do theory, big guy.
Do
theory. What else is going on?
Mike Randall on the show mentioned Tony Siragusa, RIP. Now, Tony Siragusa did have one endorsement when he was alive that I was always intrigued by, because he was the spokesperson for Depends Diapers. I'm curious out there, how much money would it take for you to tell the world you dump your pants regularly and need diapers? Because I can tell you this for me, mine's only about $300,000 after taxes.
That is it. That is a cash grab for a dude in his 40s to be talking about wearing Depends. Siragusa, R.I.P. Naya, thank you. Ryan, thank you. Big Guy, thank you. Randall, thank you. Samich, thank you. Stewart, thank you. Remember, head over to our YouTube page at VSiN Live. Give us a subscription. Hit the thumbs up. We'll see you tomorrow. VSiN Live. It's Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.